Are we live yet? We are live. I see the counting up. All right. Welcome to Barely Protestant. We're doing a fun episode today. We're just doing our ranking of the Star Wars. Actually, wait a minute. This is your first time being on my channel, isn't it? Al.
I actually think it is. We've both been on John Fisher's channel.
Yeah.
You've been on my channel for sure, but I think this is my maiden voyage on your channel. Oh, sweet.
There you go. Well, welcome. Welcome to have you. So,
Thank you.
I guess introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Allan Ruhl. I run the channel Allan Ruhl, ALLAN space RUHL. I like to talk about, some apologetics, some historical stuff, a lot of medieval stuff. I've got a special guest coming on tomorrow, Mike Parrott of RTF Media, and he's going to talk about how his lawsuit with Michael Voris played out. So,
what's RTF Media?
Restoring the Faith Media. It's a Catholic channel that has about 25,000.
I know it now.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna
Every
have
time
that tomorrow. Oh, sorry.
Good.
Yeah, so I'm having him on tomorrow. I can't remember the time, but it's fairly late. Like I think it's 8 or 9 p.m. Central Time. It's yeah. So
Oh, whoops! I already. I left the slide open to the second slide. Whoops! No one. Spoilers. Sorry. Although I mean, it's obvious that it's going to be pretty low down there. Anyway. So Allan made this slide for us, which thank you.
Because I figured, like, if we talk about our favorite novels, we showed the novel like this, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's like it's hard to say, well, this way we at least give a visual as kind of an aid while we're explaining why we love or hate the respective movie. And a good question by Koyo there.
Yeah. Is the Clone Wars movie included? It is on my end.
I've never seen
Allan
the Clone Wars movie.
Yeah. I don't think you even knew about it, right?
I had heard about it. Is it somehow connected to the show?
It is. It's sort of like the first quote episode, I guess you could say, of the show. It was actually theatrically released, so that's why I'm counting it. Okay. That it was theatrically released and not like some sort of streaming, like limited run or something like that. So it's not like the Ewoks movie or whatever,
So it's kind of it's not like how Battlestar Galactica was.
I guess I haven't seen all of Battlestar Galactica, either series, the old one or the new one. I've seen like the first season of the new one, which I liked. Minus all the sex, but
new one. It's odd we're talking about new. That came out in 2003. So
yeah, it's 20 years old,
but newer, I guess.
Yeah,
it's time for a third series, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, it is interesting. It's it's interesting for TV shows. It's kind of old hat for a lot of like old sci-fi, especially. Like if you read sort of the Clark and Asimov era, you'll see a lot of those sorts of things, like Adam and Eve. Well, sorry, spoilers. Spoilers.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I kind of liked. I suppose it would be hard to.
I liked it.
I'd say my favorite episode, it's actually a 2-part episode, is in the 5th season where they tried to do a mutiny on the Galactica. Oh man, that was intense. Oh, that was my favorite episode. That was intense. Because people who are like on the same side throughout the first 3 or 4 seasons are like fighting each other, shooting each other, and
have you seen The Expanse?
No, I'm gonna wait till I read the books, but the books have been delayed. I started to watch The Expanse. I got about 6 episodes in, and then I said, you know what? I want to read the books because I'm like, this is so good. It would probably be even better if I read the books. Have you
really good.
read the book for Expanse?
I have the first book. What's it called? Leviathan Wakes, but I've not read it yet.
Right there on my shelf.
Yeah, I've had it for years, but I've still not read it yet. There's so many other books that get in the way.
Yeah, because I'm trying to read Star Wars books, and I got to finish
Mm.
Dune. I got to finish the Dune books. Then I got to do that, and of course, there's standalone novels in between. I'm trying to read some more classics this year, like Jack London
Yeah.
and like the Bronte sisters and all that stuff. So I'll get to it eventually.
I've been doing a dystopian sort of thing as of late, starting this year. Well,
Yes, I
maybe
followed
like
your tweet on
December.
that. Yeah.
Oh Lord, finishing Atlas Shrugged was a pain. It was horrible. I hated it. But yeah,
And it's 1,100 pages.
it is. I am very proud of myself for finishing that book as much as I hate it. But anyway,
I
uh,
stopped
let
reading the book
go ahead.
during the long speech. That's when I stopped reading.
Oh, the Galt speech. Oh yeah, that's the
Yeah, that's
worst
like
part.
90.
Oh,
Yeah.
the worst part. Sorry, I'm playing with my shoe right now. The worst part is that like that's what people think is so ingenious about the book. I'm just like, this is atheism. And
Well, it's very man-centered and
oh yeah,
materialistic.
totally. It's very
The
Pelagian.
the
Well,
Fountainhead, that's her other big novel. I think it's a
uh,
bit better, but it still has that same flaw in it, very individualistic.
yeah.
It it says some true things, and in some ways that's the dangerous part of her philosophy, but it
Mhm.
throws in a bunch of bad stuff. So I mean,
Well, yeah, I'm not a communist by any stretch of the imagination, nor am I a socialist or anything like that. I mean, I hate the welfare system. I can agree with a lot of the issues that are in there that are brought up. Um, at the same time, like the solutions given are just horrible and like incoherent because basically like the speech in the speech she I mean Ayn Rand is like criticizing original sin by name, like as a bad theology because she's an atheist. And so she's basically Pelagian, a materialistic Pelagian. But like original sin explains the whole issue to begin with because you're talking about, corrupt people in government. It's like,
oh come on,
well, how
Father
did
James,
these
not even the Christians believe in original sin anymore. How are we going to get the atheists to believe in it?
That's true, I guess. Anyway, let's go ahead
I'm
and do our
yeah.
let's do our top. Okay, my top 12, your top, or not top, but our ranking of the Star Wars movies that we have all seen. All right.
Yeah, and it's going to be from
Uh
worst to best.
yes, from worst to best. So don't get confused when you see my first one.
All right, take it away, Father.
All right. Uh yes. The Last Jedi. I absolutely hate this. I tried to like it. I really, really tried to like it because I was still holding out hope. The Force Awakens, which is obviously higher up on the list, um, like I still had major problems with, but I was still trying to delude myself into believing that Disney could do well with Star Wars. But uh, after thinking about The Last Jedi, just all of the issues with it, the way they treated Luke Skywalker,
Oh
the
yeah.
way they continued to make Rey a Mary Sue, the whole Holdo thing, the whole like there are so
Oh,
many issues I could talk about with it. Um, the worst one for me is I don't remember his name, but the guy who's like the hack, the slicer, um, who's
oh,
going to
the
allegedly sort
master
of help
code
them on that planet.
breaker on
Yeah,
Canto
yeah,
Bite.
yeah. So like in the movie, they recognize him as an untrustworthy person, right?
Yeah.
We are supposed to sort of go for that trope of, well, he's the untrustworthy person, but they give him trust and he's going to break through, he's going to show them that he can be trustworthy and all that sort of stuff. That's the whole narrative that we as the movie watchers are supposed to expect. But in the movie itself, like they don't have that. They don't realize that they're in a movie. So they should just be like, we don't trust you, so we don't trust you. And if they decide to trust him or whatever, then that's one thing. But then it's like they're surprised at the end when they are betrayed by him. It's like, no, you guys in the movie didn't trust him. You're not expecting for him to turn around like in a sort of like narrative sense, you know? um,
Yeah. I kind of want to expand on what you're saying, but eventually I'm going to come to this movie in my list, so I kind of want to save some
okay,
of that stuff for that.
no, sure. The yeah, definitely the Holdo
Oh, the
thing
other
with
Paul's
like
here.
the well, huh? Oh yeah,
Paul
hey,
here.
the other Paul.
Hey, Paul.
The Last Jedi is so freaking bad. Yes, it is. Amen.
It is bad.
Yeah, that's one of the worst sort of like examples I can think of as far as like how the movie story goes. Um, you know, the whole like nobody, your parents are nobody. It was just stupid. Then they had to retcon that, and then
Yeah.
oh, like um I don't hate Rose. I get what he's trying to do with Rose because like I do like the idea of like just sort of a normal person being part of the story. I just think they could have done better rather than her sort of like saving uh um oh what's his name now? Finn.
Finn.
Saving Finn.
Finn,
And
that's a question
like
I got. Oh, sorry.
good, good.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm going to have quite a lot to say on Finn when it comes to My Last Jedi thing. I want to know if you picked up on the same thing I did with Finn.
I've seen the movie twice. I didn't rewatch these in any sort of so I kind of have largely forgotten a lot of the details because I tried to. But yeah, this is my worst one. I mean, the best thing I can say for it is like it I'll say this. The best thing I can say about it is this. It could have been one of my favorites with a lot of flaws, but like really one of my favorites if they had just sort of substantially changed one thing. If they made Ray go to the dark side at the end
Yes, yes,
of
yes, yes, yes.
the movie. Like
Yeah.
that's the way I would have like I would have made it go way up higher because like even with all the flaws like that would have been great. Like it actually ends sort of the opposite of Empire Strikes Back, which is Luke doesn't go to the dark side. He's very much tempted, and his father is there, and all the spoilers. Sorry, no, but like that would have been great. She has every reason from a narratival perspective to go to the dark side. That would have been just amazing. But nope, she's got to be the Mary Sue who never does anything wrong. So yeah. Anyway,
Such a boring character Ray was.
yes.
Oh,
Do you have the power to
boring.
slide it back and forth?
I might. Let me try. Oh, there
Yep.
we
Okay,
go.
there you go.
All right. My number 11. Now, keep in mind, I don't have a number 12 because Clone Wars is in mine. But my number 11 is not Last Jedi, although it made a run for it. It was a race to the bottom, believe you me, between Rise of Skywalker. All right, Rise of Skywalker. This took all the worst stuff from The Last Jedi and put it on crack. And a problem that they had is that the first two movies had two different directors who had completely different visions for the sequel trilogy. You have J.J. Abrams who kind of had his own thing. Then Rian Johnson takes it in a completely different direction and screws it up. He closes all the stuff that J.J. Abrams was trying to do. Then since so many people didn't like The Last Jedi, they were like, all right, we're going to give it back to J.J. Abrams. So he's left with nothing to do. His storylines have all been closed off. Snoke's dead. They absolutely did nothing with Finn. That's the thing I don't like about Finn. If you watch the first movie of the sequel trilogy, the Force Awakens, he was supposed to be a Jedi. Remember what Maz said: the lightsaber's calling to you. That means he's supposed to be a Jedi. And then Rian Johnson didn't want to do that. Then obviously for the final movie, J.J. Abrams couldn't do that. And so like he didn't have a choice, the fact that they randomly bring back the Emperor. And all of a sudden in 24 hours, there's going to be this massive galaxy-wide attack with this was so painful when they said it, the final order. I'm like, really? That was
Order
that was
67.
Well, and I remember when I walked out of the theater, I told my friend, because I saw it with a friend of mine, I says I give that movie a 1 out of 10. I hated it so much, and again, it's not all J.J. Abrams' fault. Part of it is, but not all of it. It's a lot Rian Johnson's fault. Just screwed up the direction. I think the the thing they should have done, of course, this is hindsight, is put J.J. Abrams or Ryan Johnson in control of the whole series, so it could at least be a coherent storyline. If
Yeah.
it's good or it's bad, who knows? But at least it has to be coherent. Um, the one thing I'll say positive about this movie is they bring Lando back and they didn't screw him up, because they screw up every character they bring back from the old movies except Lando. He's still
Hmm.
kind of a captain of adventure who's the
Yeah.
leader of the huge squadron of ships at the end. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's Lando of old. So they screwed up Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie even. But they didn't screw up Lando, and thank you for bringing him back, because if you remember my very first video with Father James, I mentioned he was my favorite Star Wars character. So yeah, that's the one positive thing I'll say about this movie. And let's go to Father James's number 11.
Wait, yeah, just give me a second.
Oh,
One of the
sure.
reasons, yeah, one of the reasons The Rise of Skywalker is not my bottom is that I feel sorry for J.J. Abrams. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah,
It
it's
like
not his fault. That's true. Not
yeah,
fully his
it's
fault.
far
You're right.
more Ryan Johnson's fault. Like I have no respect for Ryan Johnson. He completely destroyed Star Wars. Like Star Wars was already being
Ooh.
ruined with The Force Awakens, even though I wasn't willing to admit it. But like The Last Jedi just destroyed it. Like, um, the
And then
good,
this stuff pissed on the remains, I guess.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
So it's pretty low,
there's
but
a
it's
comment.
not the yeah. Good.
There's a comment by Koyo. You don't mind putting that up on the screen?
Which one? Oh yeah,
Somehow Palpatine Okay, that's a quote toward the beginning of the movie
yeah.
where uh Poe is trying to give a speech on the whole thing. Uh and in that clip, in that 45 seconds of speech, that has all the stupidity of the movie compressed into a speech. It has everything stupid from that movie just thrown into one. And
Uh,
you could take a look. I don't know how he's trying to hold back the laughter, because I mean, he's just describing the bone snapping stupidity that is this movie. So so thanks for pointing that out, Koyo.
yeah,
And
it's pretty bad.
and there's, well, no, I don't think I should bring that up. Long story there, but all right.
Okay,
We'll go to your number 11. 3, 2, 1.
there you go. Yes, Clone Wars. Clone Wars came out. I have a funny story with this. I was still a fundamentalist Baptist at the time, and I was going to go with my friends to the
Yay.
movie theaters, and they were going to watch Tropic Thunder. Is that the name of the movie? Right.
Yep.
And
Well, there's a
it's an
movie called
R-rated
Tropic.
movie. Yeah. And I was at the time I was like, okay, my mom's going to ask me what movie I went to see, and if I say Tropic Thunder, she's going to be ticked. So I decided instead I saw Clone Wars was out. I'm like, what? I didn't even know this was coming out, kind of thing. And huge Star Wars fan. So I was like, okay, that's a good enough reason to go see Clone Wars. I said, sorry guys, sorry friends. I can't go see Tropic Thunder. I'm going to watch Clone Wars. So I went to see Clone Wars by myself. Regretted it. To this day, I still haven't seen Tropic Thunder. I don't know if I ever will. I mean, I'm told it's hilarious, but whatever.
Like, a lot of
Anyway,
people say it's funny. I didn't think it was that funny, but yeah.
uh,
Anyways.
um, but yeah, the it's really bad. This one, I I mean, at least it's old Star Wars. I'll say that, like not Disney Star Wars. But it's still pretty bad. It's I don't know how to explain.
Prequel Star
It
Wars.
is a TV show that was put to a movie. Um,
2K.
so it like you have to what was it? Jabba's baby I think had to be saved. It was kidnapped or was hut napped or whatever. Um,
Wow.
and so yeah, they had to rescue Jabba the Hutt's baby or something. I can't remember, but it was bad. The what's interesting though is that the Clone Wars TV show gets better. Um, so the Clone Wars TV show I would more recommend, but like I guess you have to watch this first, maybe. Not really, but um, yeah, yeah, there's not much good I can say about it. It's just another one on the near bottom rung. But yeah,
Well, that came out in when? In 08 or 09 or something?
around that time, 2008, 2009.
Yeah, and that's kind of the time when people thought Star Wars was finished. Like, Revenge of the Sith had been a few years earlier, and that had ended the prequels, and everyone was wondering,
Mhm.
yeah, they'll make more books, but is there going to be any
Yeah.
more movies? And then
Well, they did TV shows
the
too. I mean, well, the Clone Wars at least, yeah.
I'm curious, is Clone Wars considered part of Disney canon?
I think so because they did continue the series. They added a season, and things like the Bad Batch and others are sort of based, and Rebels are not are consistent with the Clone Wars, or largely consistent. But yeah. Oh,
Okay.
where is the Star Wars holiday special? That was a TV special. We're doing the movies, like theatrical release movies. Yeah. That one is so bad it's good though. Have you seen the holiday special?
No.
Uh
I've
you
seen
should
the
see it.
Family Guy stuff,
Oh,
but
that's horrible. I hate Family Guy.
Family Guy is pretty shallow. It's got its moments, though. All right. Now here's my turn to dump on The Last Jedi. Uh, the Last Je- As soon as the movie starts, let's go back to the very beginning. What happens between the first two movies? They destroyed the Death
The
Star
Empire.
2.0. Uh, and all of a sudden they're on the ropes again. You would
Oh, I'm
think
sorry. I thought
destroying
you meant between the trilogies. Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm talking about between movie 7 and 8.
Okay.
Um, so it kind of got it made no sense. It kind of makes sense why a New Hope and Empire are like they are, but and then uh I know what they're trying to do in this movie. They tried to do see, I think when they did the Force Awakens, that movie was very similar to A New Hope. It was a plagiarism essentially. Now, that's not that bad because they plagiarized something good, but still, come to this
Mhm.
movie, I think they tried to do The Empire Strikes Back, and they ended up ruining Luke, the
Yeah.
hero of the galaxy, the guy who redeemed his father and got his
Mhm.
father to kill the emperor, throws down his lightsaber. That guy, he's like, I give up. I'm an old hermit. I'm going to this island to die. Just really, that was painful. At
Mhm.
least in what's now called Legends, the books. I mean, as far as they don't know, you've read further than I have in Legends, but as far as they don't torpedo his character. Certainly not in the Thrawn
They don't.
books. He's the
No.
same old, and uh, and like so many flaws. Like Finn, they did nothing with Finn. Uh, they, they were again, they were supposed to make him into a Jedi according to the lightsaber called to him, but it just changed to now he's got a grudge with Captain Phasma. Like
Yeah.
what, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's his whole conflict. He needs to defeat Captain Phasma. Ooh. Although Captain Phasma probably would have got blown up in a couple seconds after they left anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then that's so, and they try to introduce Rose to, he has a love interest now. Um, and I agree with you. And I was going to bring this up. They could have redeemed it, or at least a good chunk of it,
Mhm.
if they made Ray turn to the dark side. But Disney would never do that in a million years, even though that would be brilliant.
Mhm.
That was my prediction. I'm like, Ray. I put it on Facebook actually. My prediction is Ray turns to the dark side. This is officially on record. It's still on my Facebook
Yeah.
if you want to try to search it there. And then, uh, yeah, the parents being nobody. It's like, You see, and then of course it's like in the next movie, oh, your parents were nobody, but your grandparent was Palpatine.
Grandpa.
It just yeah, like I said, this one was a race to the bottom with Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker. It could have climbed several notches if Rey had turned to the dark side. And I'm just gonna say screw you for screwing up Luke Skywalker. And we're gonna go to your number 9 now. Boom. Or 10, sorry.
Yeah, the Rise of Skywalker is of course way down there as well. Again, like I said, it's not as low precisely because I felt bad for JJ Abrams. I felt like he did um a passable job in The Force Awakens. And then to have it screwed up by Ryan Johnson in The Last Jedi was just unforgivable. And um the Rise of Skywalker is still pretty bad. Like I used to say like it's the best he could do with it, but like that's not true. You could do so much better than this. Like honestly, I would have preferred something like Snoke being a clone, or something like that. That like, and Snoke being the one who returns, not Palpatine. If you don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like, just to fix what Ryan Johnson did, I actually believe, I genuinely believe that Ryan Johnson purposefully sabotaged Star Wars for whatever reason, out of hatred or whatever. Because like my understanding is he's at least a competent director, but like the idea that he just sort of screwed it completely.
Knives Out is a good movie.
But
But
I've seen it, yeah.
do you think that J.J. Abrams intended for Snoke to be Darth Plagueis?
I can imagine that. Well, have you read just yet or play? Yeah. Have you read the book?
Oh, you're fading.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Have you read Plagueis yet? The book?
Yes, I have. Remember, we did the review. Yeah,
Oh,
I know,
that's right.
but
Yeah,
but keep in mind, but like that stuff's all been demoted to fan fiction, though.
that's true. But
So
I mean, it's still implied in the Revenge of the Sith that he died too. So, um,
yeah,
I could see that, I guess. But actually, I think at one point I did hold to that position. I thought maybe it's a clone, or maybe he figured out how to cheat death too, kind of thing. Um, I mean, Snoke was a decent bad guy. I just the idea that he was just sort of killed and just became like a lackey and that was it. It was just so frustrating. That's one of the things I hate most about this movie. I really hate when they do sort of the very unrealistic, and you talked about this a little bit, but the very unrealistic sort of like we have 12 hours to save the entire galaxy. So let us go to literally something like half a dozen different planets in those 12 well 24 hours or whatever it was, you know. Just like I'm sorry, can we like factor in things like travel time and like finding the correct place to land, getting out of the ship, getting into the ship? Those things take time, you know. Um, it's just so frustrating. I hate when they do that. I really hated the fake sort of Chewbacca death thing. And then I especially hated the force healing thing. Like, yes, force healing is a thing in like the video games, but that's because they're the video games. And I'm trying to remember if force healing was a thing in the books. Like to a limited extent, sure. But like I mean I can imagine that there are things like that, but not just sort of like this like regrow skin in a few seconds. Maybe I'm forgetting something.
a
Maybe like in
skin
the old
graft
Republic days.
or skin graft.
Yeah. But like I guess I can be okay with the force healing ish stuff kind of, but like just I really hated the whole I'm all the Sith and I'm all the Jedi thing at the end or whatever. And just like and then he has to sort of like power all of his super star destroyers with like the dark side of the force. Just there's so many crazy
Oh,
things. Part of
and
me just thinks like Abrams is like, let's just screw this entirely up.
and something I forgot to mention mine was the whole thing with the spy. The spy. Like that whole subplot was so dumb. And that's in that 45-second speech by Poe. He talks about
Uh-huh.
the spy as uh, I hate that whole subplot, the spy, and you find out Hux is the spy. Like, oh,
Yeah. I knew it was Hux. That was the only person it could be. you know. Um, what good could I say about it? I mean, I really liked the scene with Kylo Ren and his in Han Solo, you know, in it. I liked it. What were your thoughts on that one?
uh I didn't like it. I mean, I
You
don't
didn't?
think they should have gone there. They shouldn't have revisited the whole Endor thing, in my opinion. Like, just
No, no,
leave
not
that.
not the idea of it being on Endor. Just the fact that he had a conversation with his dad and he got closure with his dad is my point. Kylo
You
Ren,
know
yeah.
what? I'll have to go and watch it again because I
Okay,
don't remember that speech. It was certainly nothing memorable, or else I
memorable.
still remember it. Yeah. So,
And also like the random sort of like dark ray thing happening. like that just
uh,
happened for no reason.
they, they 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 had that for the trailers. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that was literally just for the trailers. Um, but yeah, there's not much good I can say about this one. So those are sort of like the absolute worst, where like it's really scraping to find sort of for me for scraping to find good things to say about it. Ready for the next one if you are?
What? Just
Oh,
I'm gonna go back for a sec.
good.
What did you think of them having Lando in it?
Lando was never a favorite character of mine. I I considered that they did a good job with him, considering like yeah, he's definitely the Lando that I remember. Like I imagine Lando being older, like sort of being overweight, but still having that charm and being like I can still get any lady I want or robot, depending on
Ooh.
depending on how Solo is worked out.
All right, so number 9, my number 9, Solo. I've only ever seen this movie once. I have never bothered to go back and rewatch it. And the fact that they tie everything in with Darth Maul at the end, you have the droid who's a total SJW. Um, to be honest, I don't have a lot to say about this movie. Maybe I should go and rewatch it, give this one more chance, but I don't remember anything memorable about this movie. I remember being in the theater, just getting my phone out, waiting for it to end. I wasn't enthralled at all. Um, the guy who they got to play Lando and Han were okay. I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah, I
But
think they both did a good job. Yeah.
yeah, and then they got Daenerys Targaryen to play the love interest of yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I just was not overly enthralled with this movie. Um,
Mhm.
it seemed like there was a lot of leftist propaganda in it, and like tree hugging stuff, and but
Yeah. Uh, this one I don't hate as much as many people do. Um, I'm a sucker for like a space western, so it's got a bit of that space western feel to it. So that's why I like it. You know, you got like what the like that sort of stuff. So, did you hear me
yeah,
about all
and
that?
like no, I didn't. Sorry.
Sorry, it showed me pausing for a bit, so I figured probably I've got bad Wi-Fi right now for some reason. Anyway, I was saying I'm a sucker for a good space western. So it's got the train heist and things like that. So I like that.
And it had a thing I kind of liked. It was kind of anticlimactic how he wins the Millennium Falcon from him. Like you think it's going to happen at the beginning, and then he
Uh-huh.
gets cleaned up, and then at the end,
I like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I thought that
yeah,
was hilarious. Yeah.
yeah. All right, so I'm done with that one. I'll let you go to Force Awakens.
Yeah, The Force Awakens. Can you imagine the sequel trilogy is like all in the bottom like 3 or 4 for me? so The Force Awakens is where it starts getting to where like I can say some positive, some, you know, like substantially positive things about it. The Force Awakens is just rehashing, like it's not retelling, but like sort of it's a copy of A New Hope. And I mean,
Mhm.
if it's not broke, don't fix it. Now the thing of well is that they completely ruin Han's character. And like as you read the books of the old, it becomes a respectful
You're fading in and out.
husband. Nope.
You're fading in and out.
Uh,
Oh, okay, I can hear you
can,
now. The last thing I heard was the thing you don't like is how they tarnished Han's character.
so Han is in the old canon books and stuff. He becomes a respectable husband, like a faithful man. He loves his children. He has 3 children, and like he basically has this way. Oh, no.
You're fading in and out again.
So frustrating. Okay, how about now?
It seems okay for now.
This is so frustrating. Okay. Um, so the thing about so in the old canon he becomes respectable, is what I was saying. In case you didn't hear that part.
Family man, yeah.
Yeah, family man and all that. But in the sequel trilogy, it's like, oh, my son goes to the dark side. I'm going to leave my wife and not try to rehabilitate my son. you know. So it's just that's so frustrating. Um, but and then Ray becomes a Mary Sue. Like it starts from the very beginning of the trilogy. Um,
Yeah.
you
They
know,
wasted no time.
yeah, she like there's a meme that I like. I should have gotten some memes for this, but there's a meme I love where it shows like a picture of the main characters from the original trilogy in the um, cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, and it says like the pilot, the negotiator, the knight, the wise man, like, and each one has their own sort of role to play, right? And then they compare that to a picture of all of the main characters from The Force Awakens in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, and it points all of those things to Rey, and like she's the one who does it all. She's the pilot, she's the warrior, she's the mechanic, she's it's just like you got to spread it out. Like there has to be a reason Finn and Poe are there, and all of them. It's you can't make her the one who does everything. Like sure, make her a good pilot, or actually honestly better it would be like make her a good mechanic but like a lousy pilot, or something like that. That would make sense near from the narrative perspective, and like have Poe be the pilot. He is the ace pilot after all. And have Finn be the actually good uh uh you know strategist and the fighter and stuff, so he maybe is teaching her how to shoot or something like that. You can do all those sorts of things, but no, Ray is just good at everything because she's magical. She's a Disney princess, so she can be whatever she wants to be.
Yeah. And I'll say a bit more about that when I come to my Force Awakens, which I don't think it's next. I think it's one after the next. But are you all wrapped up here?
Yeah, it's the good parts of the parts that follow New Hope, parts of the parts that for that and go woke.
Fair enough. All right. All right. My number 8 was Attack of the Clones. Now, this movie, of course, believe it or not, it's a prequel, but it felt a lot different than Phantom Menace because Anakin goes from kid to like adult, and like it just seemed like things were so sappy set up for them to fall in love, like where it's like, oh, so I can't believe Yoda's the one who gives Anakin the mission to escort Padme back to Naboo. It's Yoda and Mace Windu who give him that, and then it's like, are you mental? You guys are supposed to be the elite Jedi, the number one and number two Jedi, and you're giving him you're telling him to not play with matches, but dunk yourself in gasoline first. Like it's an accident waiting to happen. Like the top two Jedi,
Yeah.
and then the stuff where they're like falling in love was so sappy, and it brought out the horrible acting of Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, who are terrible actors. I'm sure they're good looking, right? You know, like all my female friends tell me how good looking Hayden Christensen is. I don't doubt that. And Natalie Portman's
I've
obviously
never
good
had a
looking, but
crush
they
on
can't.
Natalie Portman. I've
No,
never found her attractive. Yeah.
well, but like I mean, she's
I
they're both
recognize
terrible
she
actors.
is. I never had a crush on her. I recognize
Oh yeah,
she's objectively
we all
attractive,
know
but
you're
yeah.
in love with Mara Jade, right?
Oh yeah, she's my only Star Wars girl.
So, um, and a thing I like the whole thing with the arena was stupid, and like the famous line at the end begun this Clone War. Yeah, you had to say that, didn't you? You just
Yeah.
had to say this corny line. Now, a few things I like about this movie. Count Dooku is a great character. He's unfortunately, if you only go by the movies, you just get the beginning and end of his story. You have to read the
Mhm.
books. You got to watch um like the books during the Clone Wars and like the pre-Clone War stuff, like Plagueis. Is it Plagueis or Plagueis? I can't remember. Anyway,
Plagueis.
Plagueis, yeah, and yeah, that goes into quite a bit of Count Dooku. Um, and Count Dooku, it's a shame he kind of had the end he did, but I'll talk more about that when I get to that movie. But yeah, so I like Count Dooku, and it showed this movie showed a lot of uh about like the friendship between Anakin and Obi-Wan, how very
Mhm.
like they're friends, but they're very different people. Now that doesn't automatically mean that Anakin's going to go the dark side, although we know he does, but he just finds himself in a situation where his flaws are amplified. And
Mhm.
that has to do a lot with the stuff with Padme and the stupid mission that the two greatest Jedi gave him. Um, and yeah, and although the falling in love stuff was sappy, I don't think those two actors have good chemistry together. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think they have good chemistry together. I don't think that it's so much the problem of Hayden Christensen as an actor, or Natalie Portman for that matter. Um, like I have a friend who's really into movies, and he was talking about how like Hayden Christensen, if you see him in other movies, he's not a bad actor. It's just that
I think
the
he's a bad actor. He was bad in Life as a House.
well, but his point was this, that like the other actors are largely sort of British, right? British trained actors,
And it's
and
Canadian. Woo! Represent.
but like um the Star Wars has cheesy dialogue, and the way British actors are trained, they sort of can embrace that sort of cheesy dialogue type thing because they have a sort of hyperbole to them, and all that sort of stuff. Whereas American trained actors tend to be more of like the realistic, and when I say American, like Canada, North America, um,
Yeah. Well.
tend to be more
Technically, Natalie
realistic.
Portman's not American either.
What is she? Canadian?
She's Israeli, actually.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Um, anyway, so they tend to be more sort of realistic and gritty. So like he's trying to show frustration with like his love for her kind of thing, but it's going up, but it's such an over the top way of or like the words themselves are so over the top that it just sort of doesn't work with trying to be realistic. But like if he were to sort of embrace the cheesiness of it and take it on like with a bit of hyperbole, um then it would have worked better. That's what he told me, and I'm like, okay, I trust you enough.
Oh,
Anyway,
that's
um,
interesting. That's interesting. I'll have to ponder that. And I mean, I suppose I should touch on Django Fett. I kind of like the things they did with Django Fett, although I don't really like the battle arena at the end because that was just
yeah,
so improbable.
yeah,
They just happen to all the Jedi happen to be in the arena. They have to go all in and save Mace Windu, and
yeah,
uh, yeah, so that was corny. I thought the ballerina was corny. It's cool the first time you see it. Wow, all these Jedi in action. But then
yeah,
as you watch it again, it gets old. There's no redeeming
yeah,
value in it. But I like the clone story. Of course, a lot of people are wondering if the clones, like they are what George Lucas had in mind. Because I know you've read Heir to the Empire, right?
mhm.
In that trilogy, they mention the Clone Wars over and over and over, but they don't explain what they are. They're very careful not to say what they are, but they mention them over and over and
They
over.
have the Sparty cloning cylinders, which are never mentioned in Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith or anything that else that I'm aware of. But yeah, go ahead.
But but I've heard that in some of the books, they've actually managed to retcon that into the Clone Wars, like in Legends.
Yeah,
They've managed, but of course, that could be just after the fact, right? Um,
this is the kind of ecumenical dialogue I can get behind.
here, 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 here. All right, shall we go to your next one?
Oh wait. Oh, let's read Koyo's here.
Oh,
Palpatine pushed the council to have Obi-Wan be Padme's escort, which means Anakin would have to go too. Obi-Wan was pulled away, so only Anakin could go. The council were too loyal to the Republic. That does make sense. To
yeah,
be fair.
but they could have picked any Jedi to escort Padme. There's thousands of Jedi, or hundreds, or I don't know
Yeah,
how
they could
many
have
there are.
changed it, but I like the point being that sort of Palpatine sort of manipulated it to where last second Obi-Wan had to go kind of thing, you know.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think Palpatine had all
Like
the
Palpatine was definitely trying to get from the very beginning try to get Anakin to the dark side. Like I think that's clear. Like
yeah, because he's like,
from the
well,
end of
watch
episode
your
1.
career with great
Yeah.
interest. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, all right, shall we go to yours?
Sure. All right. Let's see. Wait,
Oh,
what
wait.
happened there?
Oh,
Whoops. Oh,
oh,
we both pressed it. Wait, I'll press it.
okay.
All right, Attack of the Clones right there. Yes. Okay. So, I don't hate this movie. However, I remember thinking as a teenager when I watched it that I really liked it. And it was my favorite movie. And then I noticed that when I finally got it on DVD, I would start watching it and then just skip to all of the cool action scenes. Like uh the the battle between Obi-Wan and Jango Fett at the on
Oh
Camino.
yeah, El Camino. Yeah,
Um the assassin chase and all that sort of stuff. Like all those different scenes. Yoda, what is that? Yeah, Yoda fighting Dooku and Anakin fighting Dooku and all that. All those different scenes. And I realized, like, wait a minute, I don't really care for this movie because I keep skipping all of the narrative.
yeah. You skip to the fun moments, right?
Yeah, I just went to the fun movies. So yeah, it's a boring movie minus the action. It's got some really good action, I'll say. They could have done so much more with it, I feel. Like he just wasn't like it took way too long to just sort of establish, yes, there's a clone army being secretly made. Um you didn't have to spend so much time on that. The romance is whatever, it's cheesy dialogue and
Yeah,
awkward and everything, but like you need to recognize that as a director and be like, "Oh, this is not working well. Let's shorten this. Let's get that the audience knows that they're going to fall in love. They can put two and two together." kind of thing. So just shorten that. I do appreciate things like, you know, we know who Anakin Skywalker is, right? He's obviously going to be Darth Vader. I do appreciate that they do things like have him just slaughter a bunch of sand people, Tusken Raiders,
yeah.
because they killed his mother. And it's just like that makes sense. That makes him a more realistic person,
That was
and
pretty
it
well
shows his
done,
dark side.
actually. Yeah,
Yeah. So those sorts of things really good. Uh, the whole thing going to Geonosis, whatever, like Obi-Wan didn't need to go there. Wait, is that the one I'm thinking of, right?
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
one
okay.
where yeah,
Yeah,
he gets captured, and then
yeah,
Padme and Anakin go to rescue him, and then all the Jedi get
yeah.
go over there.
I mean, they could have just made it something like, "Hey, we're noticing." I don't know. They could have done so many different things, like, "Hey, we found out that Dooku is here," kind of thing. So let's all go there. I don't know.
What are your thoughts on Count Dooku?
I love Count Dooku. I think he is one of my favorite Sith. He is definitely one of my favorite. I always love the sort of noble, honorable bad guy because it's such a conflicting thing. It's like he
Like
genuinely
Thrawn,
believes what he's
right?
doing is the right thing, you know. Um,
Yeah,
so
because
yeah, I just
that actually makes him somewhat believable too. Like I find the Emperor to be a
yeah.
very unbelievable character.
Plus, Christopher Lee is amazing. Did you know he is an Anglo Catholic?
I don't know a lot about him besides his acting. I know he passed
Yeah, a
away a couple years ago.
faithful
No, I didn't know he did
conservative. Yeah, a faithful conservative Anglican. Like
that.
he's amazing. Yeah.
Oh man, if he was only alive today, he could have pulled out his Count Dooku lightsaber and went crazy on those.
Cotton Welby. Oh yeah. What a mercy.
Yeah,
I've
no, that
debated
was
doing a video on that, but I might do a video on that
me too.
eventually.
I've actually been debating one. Like, I think maybe you can, since you know a lot more Anglicans
Uh-huh.
than I do. Maybe you could do a round table with like the other Paul and a few of your other Anglican friends and comment on this because like those people are slimy. I'm just going to say that. And I've got no
Yeah.
Schadenfreude. I promise you, I have no Schadenfreude over this. It does make me
Uh-huh.
sad, genuinely.
Yeah.
Um, but
Same here, obviously. Thankfully, like some people don't understand that. Like a lot of people have sort of been like, "Well, what about your Anglicanism now?" It's like the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Church of England are not our sort of Bishop of Rome Pope thing. They
yeah, I know.
operate much more like the Eastern Orthodox provinces, for better or for worse. So it's not like, "Oh, they did it, now we have to," kind of thing. That's just not how it works. um,
Yeah, no,
let me see.
yeah, that's fair enough. A lot of people have that misconception.
Hello, folks. Greetings from Britain. Oh, it's pretty late there. It's like 12 o'clock there, isn't it? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
got to be
anyway,
pretty late. The land of Christopher Lee. All right, shall we go to the next one, or do you have anything else you
sure
need to
thing.
say about?
All right, just one second.
Oh,
I grew up in the prequel era,
wait,
so I don't
pause.
have. Yeah,
I know you're a fan of Bubba Fett and Jango Fett, and they got
Boba Fett. Yeah.
introduced in this movie. So, do you want to comment on that a bit?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. So, Jango Fett, I'm not as big a fan of. I think so. The interesting thing is that the old canon got retconned a bit when they did that, because until that point, the understanding was that Jaster Muriel was the real name of Boba Fett. So when I'm watching Attack of the Clones, I'm like, wait a minute, he's calling him Boba Fett. Like like his name is supposed to be Jaster Muriel, and like Jango Fett, like that whole thing. But like it worked itself out because Jaster Muriel ends up being um the guy who trained Jango Fett, and then Boba Fett took on that name when he was on Concord Dawn, the planet. I think that's the name of the planet. I think, yeah.
Okay.
Um, so I think they did a great job with Boba Fett, young Boba Fett, and um, like Jango Fett does a decent job. Yeah,
All right. Are you done?
yeah.
All right. I'm going to change the slide. Now, my turn. Force Awakens. I got this pretty high for a Disney movie. Now, a common critique would be, well, Alan, this is just a plagiarism of A New Hope, and yes, it is. But A New Hope is a good movie. Uh, so, so yeah, like why mess with a good thing? And it's really close actually to being a direct plagiarism. Um, and they could have like I think this movie was good enough to be the starting point for a good trilogy. Like for example, both of us in our list, I know your list, the viewers haven't seen it yet, but both of us put A New Hope as the lowest of the original trilogy. Say, say Empire and Return of the Jedi had been flops. You'd probably look back and say, "Look, that had potential." Like this movie could have been the start of a great trilogy, but instead it flopped for multiple reasons. I was kind of iffy on Snoke. I'm like, do they really want to go there? And of course, they screwed that up in the two later movies, especially because apparently in the novelization, it says Snoke had been alive to see the rise and fall of the Empire,
Hmm.
and so okay, well that kind of contradicts what happened in what they said in Rise of Skywalker, where he's like, "I created Snoke," you know. I'm
Well, he
sure
could have done it early on. Yeah.
well, you can make it work, but let's face it,
Yeah.
it's a stretch.
Yeah.
But yeah, Snoke, I was always iffy about. And then for some reason they just randomly kill him off in The Last Jedi. Um, but Kylo Ren, I thought was a great character. They could have done wonders, you know, and I wish they'd have done more with Luke. And it kind of just gives you a tease of Luke, you know. It could have been good. This could have been a stepping stone to something great. That's what
Mhm.
bothers me. Turns out it was not because it was a bad movie. It was an okay movie, but 7 and 8 were the bad movies. So I
Yeah.
think this series had a lot of potential because the first
Mhm.
movie was kind of like a springboard, and it did its job. It was good enough for an opening movie,
Mhm.
and I'll leave it at that. Unless
Yeah.
you want to.
I said what already. Yeah. So there's not much to say. I'm
Okay,
gonna go to the
okay,
next
good,
one.
good.
All right.
Nice.
Episode 1. Wait a minute. Did I do episode 1 before? I did episode 2 already, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I
right.
hope I didn't get
Yeah.
you. I hope I didn't get yours mixed
No.
up.
Nope. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Episode 1 is slightly higher. I used to say it was worse than episode 2, but um like it actually has an interesting and sort of flowing storyline. You know, it makes sense. Like you're not not confused, but like you're actually interested, like, and can follow easily along with what's happening. It's like, oh, negotiations. The big problem, the biggest problem with it is Little Orphan Annie. Just like Anakin, first of all, creepy, not on his part because he's just a kid. He's prepubescent kid, but like sort of in love with Natalie Portman, and then she has to tell him like, "My feelings for you will never change," and
My
then he goes,
caring
"I
for
care
you
for you
will
too."
remain. And he carves her the little wooden trinket.
Yeah, I
Uh,
if they had played it off as like more obviously as like, oh, this cute little kid, like, you know, kind of thing, then it would have been better. But like really just have Anakin be like a teenager and like both of them be teenagers, you know. That makes more sense.
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, there's that. I mean, Liam Neeson is amazing as Qui-Gon Jinn. I love him. And honestly, I'm trying to think if there's a better one. Um, I favorite start to any of the Star Wars movies. Like
What?
they really show well. Like especially when I was a kid and I watched it for the first time. You know, because I was so excited when episode 1 was coming out. We went to the theater to see it, and just two Jedi take down like dozens of like droids and just
Battle
doing all
droids,
these sorts
yeah.
of crazy things, and they're throwing poison into the they like, wow, these guys are amazing. Can you see me?
You're going in and out again. You're cutting in and out again.
Ugh, keeps doing that.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh man.
how about now?
Yeah, you seem to be pretty good now. So just say
Okay.
everything you said a minute ago.
Yeah, so like just the whole thing, and then my favorite part of like that whole beginning is when they're like cutting through the door, and then they close the blast doors over that, and they're still cutting through, and it's just like these guys are unstoppable. Like I could feel the fear from the Nemoidians when they're just like they're still coming through. Like I just like it's amazing. I love it. So like that beginning alone is worth a higher spot in everything. But like yeah, it's got flaws. Pod racing, I can see why people like it. I never cared for it. Just was
I thought
never
it was pretty
interesting to
cool.
me. And then like as a kid, I loved Jar Jar, but like now I find him incredibly annoying. So whatever.
You said Jar
Although
Jar.
not as annoying as C3PO. I find C3PO the most annoying by far. Um, so, um, but I still you know am fine with him. But then what else? Like Naboo. Uh, I hate the whole. What was it? Trying to remember. There's something yeah, Naboo was kind of weird to me. Um, Honestly, it would have made more sense for it to be Alderaan. I don't know why it had to be Naboo. Like, why not be Alderaan? But whatever. Uh, and
Mm,
then I guess it makes sense because like Leia would then be known to be what or maybe I don't know,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Um, but I just didn't care for Naboo. Um, I did love seeing Coruscant for the first time. I was so happy, excited because I'd read about Coruscant and everything as a child, and then like seeing the entire planet as one city, which is a slightly different from the original books and everything, but
yeah,
that's fine. But
yeah. Like
like I'm sure there are places you can sandwiches, but like yeah, Darth
with
Maul.
course,
All
you, you're choppy again.
right, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. You're
Darth
talking about
Maul,
Maul.
favorite, yeah, bad guys. Uh, and I also love that. I'm gonna say he's one of my favorite bad guys. I like the way he looks is one of my favorite. Sort of like how he looks is awesome. That's what I mean. And that lightsaber duel is amazing. Like when you have the Duel of the Fates, it just
Yeah, that's a
pumping
great
and
song.
watching him pull out that double-sided lightsaber, it's just like it was amazing. So there are so many amazing moments in this movie. And the worst part is just sort of the sort of cheesy dialogue and the Anakin being way too young, that sort of stuff.
Well, little fun fact about me: that movie came out, I think, in May, and in October of that year, I dressed up for Darth Maul, and we did like fancy paint that took hours to dry and stuff. And I had the double bladed lightsaber, and I was, yeah, no, I was, yeah, no, I was a big fan of Darth Maul.
Yeah, he's cool. He's great. Anything else you want to say?
I think I'm done. I still have to talk about this movie myself, so I'll save that for then.
All right.
Uh, are you done?
I'm done. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Phantom Menace, my number six.
I was just going through some of the
So
comments. Oh, oops. Oh,
oh,
sorry.
yeah. So
I'll let you do yours and I'll
Phantom
do mine. How about that?
okay, sure, yeah, yeah. So, uh, the Phantom Menace was I liked the parts like it kind of sets the stage for um I like how they did Obi-Wan. I really liked how they did Obi-Wan. They introduced him. I love
Mhm.
the character of Qui-Gon Jinn. I liked the fact that Palpatine's in this from the very beginning because like on that command ship, they find out that the two ambassadors are Jedi. Then they're like, "Oh, let's contact Sidious," and like it shows him that's obviously the Emperor. He's not the Emperor yet, but
Mhm.
that's the future Emperor, and he's in it from day one. He's already having his plans to try to take over. So I like that. Um, and yeah, like Anakin's annoying. But like the pod racing was very aesthetic. That was just a CG flex of the day.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
because
don't hate
back
it.
then
It's
that's
just
what you do.
like the idea that there was a video game made based entirely just on the pod racing. which
fun
was, it was
band.
a
Yeah.
fun game, but like, you know, I was just like, I didn't understand why people were so obsessed with it. Like as a kid, I was just like, okay, I've never been like a racing sports guy though, so yeah.
Mm. Well, um, so yeah, like I think Tatooine was a bit long, and the big thing that's a drawback in this movie, it's a bit too complicated for a Star Wars movie, but it's a kind of movie you appreciate the more you watch it. Like it makes
Mhm.
sense the more you watch it, but that's not how a Star Wars movie is supposed to be, in my opinion. So therefore, the movie loses a few points on that. Um, it tried to do too much and it barely succeeded. There's tons of movies they try to do too much and it ends up terrible. But this one, I think it barely squeaked by. Um, I did like the stuff with Darth Maul. The Jedi,
Mhm.
like it tried to do a lot of world building, and that was hard to do. So like they had uh that they have the whole Senate and the Supreme Chancellor, and the Jedi and the Council and the Temple and all that stuff. So I think that was a lot to get through. And it made the movie a bit slow at times. Like you're kind of watching a like apparently Andor's like that. I haven't seen Andor yet, but I've been told it's good. But yeah, so it didn't feel like a Star Wars movie in that regard. Um,
Mhm.
I do like the fact that it stayed fairly loyal, vaguely loyal to the Heir of the Empire books, which I've only just read. Like they got
Mhm.
Coruscant as the old capital, although I don't think the books describe it as a planet city. They talk about the imperial city on Coruscant, right?
Yeah.
It says in the old books that Palpatine, who eventually became emperor, was a senator. So that stuff they
Mhm.
got right. Um,
Yeah.
the Jedi. So like I think in terms of politics, the whole Heir to the Empire books were fairly loyal. It was fairly loyal to the material. I think the idea of the Jedi Temple was novel. That's not an Heir to the Empire because Luke's trying to learn about the Jedi. It's like, how come we just don't go to the temple? You know, it's right next to the
Yeah.
Senate chamber, right? But I think that gets more developed in these books. Um, but so yeah, there's a lot in there, but I guess you kind of had to do it because he's world building. He didn't have a lot to go off. So um, there's a lot of good in this movie, but a lot of bad. So a lot of both, I'd say. And I'm done.
Yeah, well, I forgot to mention, one of the things I really have always loved of the prequels is the politics and politicking. I love Palpatine's sort of master plan where he's playing both parties against each other and all that sort of stuff. That's one of the things I love best about the prequels. Um,
He does a good
oh
job,
yes,
Palpatine. Like he earned
I
his
I need
victory
to,
in Revenge of.
yeah, I need to correct Chip Cole here. Jar Jar should have been made the Emperor. Jar Jar actually was the Emperor. He was the Emperor over Palpatine. I didn't know if you caught that, but yeah,
Ooh.
the Sith Lord over the Sith Lord.
All right, now
All
it's your
right.
turn.
All right, next one. So Solo. I am so sad that this movie is so hated. I really like it. I've always wanted a good sort of actual space western in Star Wars. Like it's got so much of that in it already, but like a sort of more pure. It doesn't do it purely, but like it is the most space western type of Star Wars movie out there. Um, and Han Solo is a favorite characters, and he uh the actor does a great job. I don't remember his name. He does a great job as Han Solo. Lando Calrissian is Danny Glover's son, whatever his name is, Donald or something like that, Glover. um he does a great job as Lando. uh I I'm so sad that this is such a hated movie by so many people. The biggest problem I have with it actually is that they could have done something that would have made it perfect, which is had Nathan Fillion as one of the main sort of characters. What's the name of what's the name of the actor? He's in what's it called? I'm gonna have to look it up. Solo cast.
Expanse?
No, he's not in the Expanse. Woody Harrelson is Beckett. Yeah, Woody Harrelson. If they had Nathan Fillion instead of Woody Harrelson, which Harrelson does a great job, don't get me wrong, but like the reason for that is for the sci-fi fans out there is that Nathan Fillion is the one who plays Malcolm Reynolds in Firefly, and Malcolm Reynolds and Han Solo are so constantly sort of compared to each other. Firefly is basically if Han Solo had his own TV show. So I think that would have been just really great. But I don't know if they even tried. That was a blown moment. The Darth Maul thing, I could go either way with. It's not a horrible thing to me. It is interesting how in many ways it is a bit similar to uh, the Han Solo Adventures, the trilogy there, Han Solo's trilogy. Because spoiler, he does get betrayed by a woman he loves, and that's why he just sort of doesn't respect women in in the
Oh.
story. It's like he's been betrayed by women, like a woman he loves, and so he's like, I don't care, drop dead kind of thing. So yeah, did you want to say anything else that
Ooh.
you about this?
I've said my piece about this movie.
Yeah.
We obviously differ. Oh, I got a
Okay.
question. What did you think about the droid who was an SJW?
So like, I felt like it was played off more as a joke rather than to be taken seriously.
Oh,
But that was just
okay.
me. I mean, I can see like knowing Disney and all that sort of stuff how, but like the way it felt in the movie was more like, you have that sort of in movies you'll have like that woke character kind of thing, and like sometimes it's played for laughs. So I figured it was played for laughs. That was yeah. I mean,
Well,
I don't think
in
that necessarily Disney was doing that, but like it came across as being played for laughs. So
this movie was not long after Rogue One. And Rogue One's droid was amazing. K2SO. Amazing
yes,
droid. And so like you go from that to this stupid idiot droid in this one. I'm like, really? You created
yeah,
the most awesome droid. Now you created this
yeah,
idiot, you know.
yeah.
Um so it was you done or
I'm done. Yep, go ahead.
all right. I think our 5 through 1 are the same.
Probably.
Actually, I know they are. Star Wars: A New Hope. So this is the start of the hero's journey. Now, again, it's easy to have the first movie of a trilogy be a good movie. I thought Force Awakens was decent. Um, and I think this did its job. I think A New Hope did its job, and I like the fact that there's backstory in it. Like they don't go into the backstory, but it kind of just says there's backstory. And of course, in Empire Strikes Back, they explain what that backstory is, right?
Mhm.
But so I I liked it. They didn't strain anything too much. Um, but like I think a lot of trilogies make the mistake saying they have to explain everything in the first movie. You have to build the world completely, and I don't think that's true. And I think this movie knew that. Um, because there's still questions. Like you would naturally think going into the next movie that Luke and Leia are gonna fall in love. Like that's the
Yeah.
obvious uh, thing. But no, it didn't go that way. And like I kind of like the fact that this is the start of the successful hero's journey. This trilogy is probably the greatest trilogy in the history of film. Like it is it I can't think of a better example of the hero's journey than this, and this movie kicked it off uh, quite well.
Mhm.
So I'll say my piece on that. If you want to comment, I think it's your next movie too. So
It's probably my next movie. Yep. All right. So I'll just go into mine then. um, yeah, this is an amazing movie. What I love about this is that Luke is a whiny brat. And that is great because it gives him room to grow. But I was going to Tachi Station to pick up some power converters, and all that sort of stuff. It's like, no, he's an annoying kid, way in over his head. He like has some good ideas, during the whole movie. But he is the young buck who is kind of more or less getting in people's way, and that gives him room to grow throughout the rest of the trilogy. Where at the very end, he does do a good job. It's not obviously it's not luck; it's the force, but like, you know, people could see it as like, oh, that's a lucky shot kind of thing. But like he's also competent as a fighter pilot kind of thing too. He's saving people and everything, and he takes the lead when his leader gets shot and killed and everything. So like you see growth even within it itself, right? And one of the other things I love is that he Lucas did not have it all completely planned out like as a trilogy yet. For instance, he did not have Luke being the son of Darth Vader. In fact, as my understanding
are you
is that
sure about that?
I'm almost 100% sure. I've read that multiple places. Have you read otherwise?
Okay. Well, no, but there's a piece of evidence that that goes against that, and I'll explain it to you.
That's what I'm afraid of.
'Cause
That part. You
no,
there?
no, not that part. But the part
Oh,
where he's telling him about how great a pilot his dad was. He was the best
yeah.
pilot in the blah blah blah. And
Galaxy. Yeah.
then at the end, remember Darth Vader comes in his ship and almost takes out all of them except Luke and I think one other.
Yeah. That might
So
have just been a happy
Darth Vader
accident.
is a good.
Yeah.
Okay, it could be a happy accident, but I'm saying
Yeah.
that's some evidence in favor of. I'm not going to fully believe that until we have a statement from uh, uh, George Lucas. If you can point me to a statement from him, Al.
I'm 99% sure that that's the case. I've read it so many times in so many different places that I'll look it up and get something for you after this. But yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So if that's the case, which I'm pretty sure it is, there's so many like happy accidents like that. So like when Owen says, that's what I'm afraid of. When Beru's like, oh, he's just too much like his father, kind of thing. That just adds so much more to it. um, and then when Luke asks Obi-Wan, "How did my father die?" and then you see that pause, you know,
Yeah,
that's really cool too.
yeah,
Um,
there's that time where he says, "I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father," and he kind of goes
yeah,
back into some memories, kind of ponders.
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
but a thing that was impossible to reconcile is when they said your uncle thought your father shouldn't have got involved in the war, and that is just one thing you can't reconcile with the prequels.
See, I'm trying to remember. Your father wanted you to have this. I'm trying to remember the exact wording.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that sign where your uncle where he's like, that's what your uncle told you. He didn't believe him, but and he said your uncle wanted uh
Was afraid you'd go off on some damn crusade like your father.
no, he said something to the effect that your uncle wanted your father to stay out of the war or something like that. We'll go
No,
in
he said some
and watch.
crusade like your father. Like he was afraid of
Yeah,
Luke
he
going
said
off
that
on some
too,
crusade.
but well, okay, I'll have to rewatch the scene, then
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
What
But
one of the other things we didn't talk about the sort of updates when the 90s when he sort of CGI'd it all and stuff. Um I I hate obviously like Han shot first, like that's there's no question, like you cannot change that. Like Han has to shoot first. um I would have loved the whole Jabba the Hutt thing that was added, if it was done better, it just looks so bad. Uh, like
Step on the tail.
especially when he's. I'm sorry.
Where he steps on the tail.
Yeah, that part specifically. Like it would have been so awesome. Like it's such a happy like it's so cool. Like because it was originally obviously a human that he's talking to and stuff like that. If you've seen the original footage, and like I admire like the fact that they were trying to make it do that, and where he ends up with Jabba, you're a wonderful human being, like that sort of stuff. But like it just doesn't work. So like it close but no cigar, I guess. So it's whatever. Like maybe in the future we'll have much better CGI that'll do that, or maybe now. But yeah, that part is cringe, and then a little bit cringe, I'll say. And then the worst part is obviously Han being shot first and being missed entirely, which was so stupid. I guess Greedo is really that incompetent, but yeah.
He was 3 feet in front of you. Yeah. Um.
I disagree. The best trilogy in film is Back to the Future. No.
Ugh.
You want
Back
okay?
to the Future, fun. It has its moments, but
Why are the top two
overall,
trilogies being argued here? Both have why is it that they both have incest in it?
ooh,
They both do.
yeah, I know. And,
All
and
right,
apparently
go.
in Splinter in the Mind's Eye, there's Luke Leia shack
Oh,
up or
really?
something.
I've never
Yeah.
read it, so I don't know.
Well, because apparently, like at that time, that's the most natural thing you're going to assume, right? Luke and Leia
Yeah,
together, and in that book, it has them having a romance in that book,
Lord.
and that book was, I guess, it was technically canon um until Disney took over, but
Yeah, old canon
oh
get
well.
got largely just sort of shafted. All right, your turn.
Yeah. All right, my turn. Here we go. All right, Revenge of the Sith. Now, this movie is the one movie that, okay, say you were to go a year before Phantom Menace comes out. You don't
Mhm.
know what happens in Phantom Menace. You don't know what happens in prequel movie number 2. But you know what happens in the third prequel movie. Rise of the Empire, Anakin turns evil,
Mhm.
and of course the idea, and everyone knew from even before the trilogy that there was going to be a cosmic battle for the ages between Obi-Wan and Anakin, which ended with him getting the machine apparatus on him. So yeah, like it brings all the stuff from the prequels together, and I think it does a really good job. One, because it's laid out, we know what happens. um It was a little corny with the flashbacks, or the visions. That was a tad corny, but I don't think it took too much away from it. Uh, I like the fact that you start in the Clone Wars, and it's kind of self-explanatory. Like it's not like you have to read a bunch of Clone Wars novels to know what's going on.
Mhm.
The Clone Wars are on. I love General Grievous. Love
He
General
is good.
Grievous. He
Mhm.
is of both him and Count Dooku are great characters, and they both
Yeah.
saw their end in this movie. Count Dooku gets killed off in a. It's funny when he looks over at the Emperor. It's kind of like, oh darn, he had me, didn't he? All along I was just his pawn. He wanted this
Yep.
guy all along. He wanted Anakin all along, and
Yep.
yeah, so I kind of like that. I like the space battle at the beginning. That was good. Um, and how they rescue, and Anakin's improved a lot as a Jedi. If you take a look at
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones, he's improved a lot. Like he's owning people in this one. Like in two,
My powers have doubled since we last met, Count.
that's no joke. Yeah, and yeah, so I'm glad of course the flaws, the two some flaws in this movie. It's not perfect. It has the bad acting from Attack of the Clones, from Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman get increased, because they're front and center. Um, I, I, I've kind of always wanted to figure out the timing of a Star Wars movie, and this movie actually gives a tease of how much. Like from the start of this movie to the end, about how long does it take? Is it a
She's a few
week, a
months
month?
pregnant. Yeah. Right?
Yeah,
Or she's a
yeah,
month pregnant, I
and
think. Yeah.
yeah, and then when uh the scene where the temple's on fire, and then Anakin goes to visit Padme, and and then Obi-Wan goes to to visit her. It's like, when's the last time you saw him? She says yesterday, meaning that was the day after the attack on the temple. And I kind of liked how they did the attack on the temple and Order 66. Although they do something in the novel that they probably should uh have done. Like the part where Palpatine kills those two Jedi, those three Jedi so easily. Huh!
Mm,
All right, now it's just me and you, Windu, and then it's a real fight. That was corny. I think they do it
yeah.
better in the book. Um, uh, 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 uh the fight was good on Mustafar. Um, so pretty much, it's pretty good. The exception is the bad acting. Uh, the visions were a tad corny, but that's only a small problem. Uh, I'm glad they. If you go and watch some of the deleted scenes, uh, there's like talks with the organic. They're talking about forming a rebellion. I'm glad all that stuff got cut out, because that
Mm,
would have been trying to do too much.
yeah.
And I like at the end how you actually get to see Alderaan. I'm like, oh, that's Alderaan.
Yeah.
Took me a
Yeah.
second. Yeah, take a good look because it won't be there in a few
Won't be there for
years.
long.
Yeah. So yeah, no, great movie, and especially since 1 and 2 of the prequel trilogy were meh. I'm glad that it had a strong finish. So I've
Yeah.
said my piece on that one.
All right. I think I'm the next. Yep, same. All right. So yeah, Revenge of the Sith, I love. It's it has a really good uh like it sort of ties everything together very well in with all the flaws from the prequel trilogy and stuff. It ties everything together very well. It's definitely the best out of the three, I would say, obviously. Um I am upset that there is no Boba Fett in it. I was really hoping that Boba Fett would actually be the one who kills Mace Windu as revenge for the death of his own father, but that didn't happen. Um, the I love Palpatine and Yoda's fight. I also love obviously Obi-Wan and Anakin's fight. That's amazing. Um, so many good fights. The Dooku thing at the very beginning was great. There was a bit too much comedy at the very beginning with R2D2. But that's whatever. I mean, as a teenager, I was laughing my head off, but you know, I don't know, it just a bit too much. But that's just me
Be
trying to
happy
find
it
stuff.
wasn't Jar Jar Binks.
Oh Lord, yeah. um, there are some cheesy lines too. This is how democracy dies with thunderous applause. That sort of stuff,
Yeah, that was
and like. It's a bit on the nose too because this is right during the Iraq War, and so it's just sort of like, okay, guys, we get what you're saying, but like the problem with that too is that like the way Palpatine has set it up, he wins either way. He's going to take over the galaxy either with the droid army or with the clone army. Like either one will work. So like
he just
the
needs to make sure all the Jedi die.
yeah. And he can do that just as easily with the droids, I would say, Um like like the clones is a bit of a gamble because it's not like the clones are much better than the droids. Um and so like if like if the droids were to take over the entire galaxy and like win the war, um, because even from the very beginning they were saying like the Jedi are way too few. We can't take on all of the droids. Um, he can still kill them, and like you can just as easily have them quote execute Order 66. I guess it would be like there's no need for it, I guess, because they're already trying to kill the Jedi. But like, whatever. Like he can do it either way. Like he's been doing this over, like the Sith have been doing this for generations. They've been preparing for this exact moment for generations, and Palpatine is the culmination of all that. So it's just like, yeah. um, so that's the biggest problem I have with it, like the on the nose political talk and stuff. But it's a great movie. It's a solid movie in so many different ways. Uh, there is a continuity error with the movies where in Return of the Jedi, Leia does remember her mother, but like just remembers that she was so sad. It's like, well, Leia didn't even see her mother. Like
So,
literally her
so
eyes are
about
closed and she's good.
yeah, like she dies like 12 seconds later, and it's not like you
Yeah.
remember anything from your first minute of life, or
Yeah.
outside the womb. Now I got something to say about that. I used to satisfy myself by saying, "Well, it's probably like a vision because the
It
Force
could be.
gives you visions." But then again, you would know when your mom died. Like
Yeah.
if your mom died when you were like 3 or at birth, she'd have known if her mom had died at birth. So that I think is a legit continuity error.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you got a point there. And
So yeah, there's that. Um it makes, obviously, the initial problem I had, well, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, there aren't many problems. I really like it. It's a great movie. Great fights, great story. Uh, the politicking and everything is just awesome. So yeah.
yeah, no, it was well done. Really liked the the Yoda versus Palpatine because Palpatine, it's hard not to admire him. He worked hard to do all that, and at the end, he still has to beat Yoda. That's
Hmm.
no easy feat, and like he barely beats him. Like it's a very close fight, but he does win.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so no, he earned it. You got to give Palpatine his props.
Oh yeah, totally.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the tragedy of
All
Darth
right.
Plagueis is one of my favorite scenes too in Revenge of the Sith when he tells the story. Like Ian McDermott is
Oh,
such a good actor. I love him. He's awesome.
he is a good actor. Yeah. And I'm so glad he was Palpatine. That just made it.
Yeah.
All right, shall we go now to
All right.
number 3, Rogue One. All right, Rogue One. This movie holds the record of the majority of times I've gone to a theater to see a movie. Take
Oh
a guess
wow.
how many times I've seen this movie in theaters.
3, 5.
5. I have seen this
Wow.
movie 5 times in the theater. I didn't plan on the last one, but a friend wanted to go, and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I'll go with you." I
Mhm.
I I I was supposed to go with a whole bunch of extended family, and,
Uh-huh.
they found out I'd seen it 3 times, and like, "Oh, I'll still go with you, I'll see it again. I've just seen it 3 times." I love this movie. And I like the filming. I like the, I kind of like this period between 3 and 4. Like that's got to be such an interesting period, right? You've got a new order in the galaxy, um, and in some ways, like it's a big deal, like how it affects places. Apparently, some places, and we know this from the expanded universe, stayed more or less the same, and some places changed drastically. And like how do things feel, right? That's why I kind of like the game Jedi Outcast. There's a sequel that just came out, um, and so. I'm kind of wondering. It's a time period I like
Mhm.
between episode 3 and 4, literally right before 4. Like it ends a couple hours
Yeah.
before 4 starts, you know. And I was the, there was there was potential continuity error because there's actually a deleted scene from A New Hope where Luke's looking up into space. He can see the space battle that took place where they captured the plans. Obviously, the plans were captured at Scarif, right?
Mhm.
But it's a deleted scene, so it's not canon. So I think, yeah, no, it's so adventurous. I loved all the action scenes. The movie was never slow. I thought a couple people thought a
Mhm.
couple parts were slow, but I never. Like I thought it did just what it had to do. There's very few flaws in this movie. Um and yeah, I love the ending where yeah, K2SO. I love K2SO. I love the ending where you get to see Darth Vader with the lightsaber. That scene was like so intense, and they're trying to get the door open, and then he just
Mhm.
hands the disc.
Mhm.
Uh, oh yeah, no, it was just so much good stuff. I love Jin; she's a great character,
She is, yeah.
um, and K2SO is great, and I love it how um they have like the single reactor ignition. That's kind of interesting.
Mhm.
I don't see many flaws in this movie at all. It's hard to think of one, except small things here or there. But yeah,
I saw I saw it earlier. Darth Pelagius could save himself, as in Saint Augustine's nemesis.
yeah,
You get it?
yeah,
Okay.
no, that's yeah, I do get it.
Sorry. Um, yeah. So, anything else you want to say about it?
No, I think I'm done.
All
Great
right.
movie. That's all I'll say. 5 times in the theater.
All right. Yeah, I've seen this movie multiple times. I love it. It's one of my favorite movies. Definitely, top three in the Star Wars. What I love is that I'm convinced that the story was made from a like Star Wars tabletop campaign. Like Dungeons and Dragons, but Star Wars version. It just has that tabletop feel. I don't know anyone who's played tabletop games before, but it is like the perfect tabletop story kind of thing. Um, so that's what it comes across as. Just great bad guys, great characters. I loved all of them. Jyn Erso is awesome. I love her. She's like the reluctant hero kind of thing, who ends up sort of dying, literally dying for the cause. And I do love how it's like, oh, all the characters die. you
It's a
all the good
Shakespeare
characters die.
tragedy.
Yep. Um, Oh, I have the Star Wars tabletop game on my bookshelf. So do I. Well, not it's somewhere over there right now, but I've done a few campaigns. I love the Star Wars RPG, the Fantasy Flight one. But yeah, it's a great one. It's K2SO is awesome. He's like HK47, right? He's a bit like HK47 from KOTOR,
Knights of the Old
from Knights of the
Republic,
Old Republic.
KOTOR.
Yeah.
Great game.
Yeah. So, someone had mentioned way back early towards the beginning about their first game being Rogue Squadron for the 64, for their first Star Wars game, I think. That's a great Star Wars game. We should probably have you done many of the Star Wars video games or no?
I've done a few. In fact, I was going to suggest that our next video, our top. I think I can only go top 5 though. I'm not a
Okay.
huge gamer. I'm a quasi gamer. I dabble.
I could
Um,
probably do top 5, yeah.
right. Okay.
Um
Right
but
now,
yeah,
I'm dabbling.
yeah. But the
Oh, I
like
was going to say
the
I'm dabbling in Hogwarts Legacy.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello? Okay. Um yeah, they someone asked did you guys rate the Clone Wars movie? Yes, that was second worst for me. He hasn't seen it, but I did it as the second worst. Um, so what was I saying? Yeah, so the Vader scene at the very end is obviously amazing. Scarif was really cool. Like I love how they sort of
Yeah,
called back to the old your red squadron, gold squadron, blue squadron was
yeah,
one. What else? You know, just they even had the same sort of like facial hair and things like that as like to sort of emulate the original pilots, not because they are the same pilots, but because of, you know, like, oh, they would have the same style even though it was like all 70s, obviously, like the mustaches and all. It was so well done. I loved it. And um it shows a lot more of a gray side too. And I love one of the things I love best is that there was very little force in it. Like very little bit about the force in it. Which I mean, I love the force, you know, like it's cool and everything, but I love seeing all of the different facets of Star Wars. And the focus was not on the force. The focus was upon more of the military and the rebellion and the guerrilla stuff. And like they have characters who are complicated. Like Saul Guerrera is a very complicated character. He's like he's a paranoid extremist, and it's like he's too extremist for the rebellion, kind of thing, you know. So I love
yeah.
all that sort of stuff. There's just so much good, and yeah, that that's all I gotta say, I guess. So go ahead, you do it to the next one.
Uh, yeah, no, just I just got a comment about something on the Force though. I did not. There's two Force scenes I can gather in this one. Like, unless you want to think Donnie Yen's character is using the Force when he's walking and they can't shoot him. But no, like that scene where Darth Vader choked Krennic, I thought that was corny. That's not Darth Vader's character, and he makes some corny joke. Oh, don't choke on your aspirations. It's like,
Yeah,
that was corny. And
yeah.
then, of course, there's a tiny bit of force at the end in the hallway where he's got the lightsaber and he's
Well, yeah, there's not
pointing the
no
gun.
force, but like it's not the main thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very limited, and I kind of
yeah.
like that because this is something that you've told me before, not here, but you've told me that the whole idea in the Star Wars universe, the Jedi are kind of like on the periphery of the story. They're not supposed to be the
Mhm.
main event.
Well,
They're
when
out
you look
there.
at the yeah,
Yep.
when you look at the galaxy, especially during the original trilogy with like the books in the background and stuff, like it's literally a sort of like a myth. Like, you know, oh, you believe Jedi existed? What kind of thing? And it's like only, you know, 20, 30 years or so, whatever, or, you know, 20 years later. But it's just like they are already such a rare thing, that for people on the outskirts, that it's just sort of like you don't encounter a Jedi every day kind of thing. It was already sort of a myth for the outskirts, for the outer rim, and it just sort of is it like with them almost being completely extinct. It's just sort of like, okay, well, yeah, they never existed anyway, kind of thing. Yeah.
All right, I will go the next one. Return of the Jedi. So the end of the hero's journey that started in A New Hope, the greatest hero's journey of all time, certainly in film, um, where he comes to the conclusion. Obviously, the top movie's Empire, if you haven't figured that out yet, but that's kind of like he goes further on the journey and realizes there's way more to the story than he thought it was. But that doesn't change his mission, it only kind of modifies it. And then he finally learns, because of course Darth Vader told him, but there was some doubt there. He goes to Yoda. He's like, "Is Darth Vader my father?" That scene was so powerful. And then
Yeah.
Yoda's like, he doesn't want to tell him. He's like, "Yeah, he
Yeah.
is," you know. And
Yeah.
then it's like, "All right, I got my mission." Uh, and then he's like, "I don't. There's no more training." It's like, wow, I am a Jedi then. He's like, you have to defeat Vader, then you'll become a Jedi.
Hmm.
And then when he defeats Vader, he throws down his lightsaber in front of the Empire, in
Hmm.
front of the Emperor, and he declares himself a Jedi. And then the Emperor's trying to kill him with the Force lightning, and then his father, now redeemed, kills the Emperor. Like, just man, the absolute brilliance of this story culminated and they defeat the Death Star. And oh man, it was a lot of people have critiqued the first third of the movie. as being kind of confusing. It's like, all right, what was Luke's plan going in there, and what was the um yeah, okay. I'd say that's a point against it, right? It's that part was kind of weird. It's kind of like if you watch the movie Mission Impossible 4, which I'm sure you've seen, right?
No, I've not seen
With
any past number 2.
okay, 2 was bad, but 3's okay, 4's good, 5's good.
I should get into
Uh,
it again.
yeah. Yeah, because yes, I do gotta admit 2 is discouraging, and I remember the 4th one, I'd seen the trailers for it. He has the long hair again, and I'm like, "Please, no. Please don't be terrible." Okay, off topic. We can rank those movies another day. Um, where were we? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, the beginning was probably the weakest part of the the movie, but I don't think it was too bad. Then he goes to Yoda, and basically Yoda tells him, "You're almost there. The journey's almost over, but to get there, you need to defeat Vader." And he learns the truth about Leia, and then yeah, no, just fantastic ending to the hero's journey. It's someone who actually had to go through adversity, the complete opposite of Rey. Rey at the beginning of Force Awakens was able to beat Kylo Ren. Can you imagine Luke in the first one being able
Beat
uh
Vader.
to beat Darth Vader? Impossible. In the
Yeah.
second one, he gets shellacked against Vader. And
Yeah.
then the third one, you can tell he's grown a lot,
Yeah.
and he finishes off the end of the greatest hero's journey of all time. All right.
Yeah. That's obviously my second. Uh Honestly, if it weren't for the first, third or so, the whole Jabba's hut or Jabba's
Yeah.
palace thing,
Yeah, the
this
Tatooine
might be
one.
my favorite. Empire is so hard to beat, but like this one is amazing. I really don't like how they treated Boba Fett. Um, I don't like. I don't understand Luke's plan. I don't. I don't think Luke even fights very well in it, despite being a very powerful Jedi at this point. It's kind of really weird. Um, I don't like the Bikini Leia thing. Um, just yeah, all of it's bad. But the rest of it so much makes up for it. I actually like the Ewoks. I think that's cool. Like I don't understand why people hate the Ewoks.
I don't
Um
hate the Ewoks at all. I like them.
yeah, I think they're great. Um it's funny with like them thinking that C3PO is a god. I love that. you know. Uh I love Admiral Akbar, which I forgot to mention. I One of the reasons I really hate The Last Jedi is that Admiral Akbar dies so unceremoniously in that. That's so
Yeah.
frustrating. But Admiral Akbar is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, and the Battle of Endor is amazing. And I love how they again they let other people be heroes too. So um, one of the things that is sort of talked about in the books is that Luke quote only kills one Death Star or only destroys one Death Star, whereas uh, oh wow, what's his name? Um, Dennis Lawson is the actor. Why can't I remember the actor's name but not the
Wedge
character?
Antilles?
Wedge Antilles. Wow, Wedge Antilles um, is one of my favorite characters, even though I couldn't remember his name. Wedge Antilles uh, has destroyed two Death Stars. you know, has helped destroy two Death Stars. The first one from
Yeah.
A New Hope, and
Correct.
then
He
this
was
one.
one of the one or two others that didn't get shot down.
Yeah. Yeah, so like he does a great job. He's a hero too. He's known as an ace pilot. He's not using the force and all that sort of stuff. He's a good pilot. Um, them having Lando come back and everything. The fight between Vader and Luke and how Luke matures and actually can best his father now. And Palpatine almost turns him to the dark side, but he stops and he throws away his lightsaber, and then Vader himself turns back to the light and kills the Emperor. Like all of that is just amazing. It's such a
Perfect.
great story.
Yeah.
It's
And
beautiful.
a thing that a lot of people don't pick up on. And this is in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. There's kind of a rivalry between Vader and the Emperor. Although they're technically on the same team, they're both trying to recruit Luke and overthrow
Yes, the other.
the other.
Mhm.
And because he's saying, Luke, you can destroy the Emperor, and then after he defeats Vader, the Emperor's like, take your father's place. And
Yeah,
so like the plan was it was, although they're technically on the same team, they both have their own interests.
yeah.
And that's kind of in the background. It's kind of hard to notice, but it's there.
Yeah.
So, but
Uh, the Diamond Brothers, by the way, they think Star Wars is demonic. Um,
the Diamond Brothers are demonic. Screw the Diamond
I was
Brothers.
I
You
was
just
going to
have
go
to
to the
ruin
set of
the stream
Vacantist
by
way, but
bringing
if I
up the
can't
Diamond Brothers.
say again.
Elijah had to ruin the stream by bringing up
Oh,
the Diamond Brothers. They're
I was gonna say I
novels.
was
They're
about to become a
novels.
set of Vacantist, but if I can't have my Star Wars, then I'm not gonna be SETI. I'm sorry.
Whoops. Sorry, Diamond Brothers.
The rule of two. Yes, yes, yes. Um, what was I gonna say? This movie is amazing. It's great. It closes off the story very well. The trilogy. It's beautiful. Again, except for the whole Jabba's palace thing, it's perfect. So, all
Yeah, I think
right.
we can agree the Tatooine stuff is was corny. But the last but everything after that, from the moment he goes to Dagobah and he sees
Mhm,
Yoda, and Yoda says, "One thing left for you to do," and
mhm.
this is absolutely brilliant. Shall we?
All right, go ahead.
3, 2, 1, boom! Empire
Surprise.
Strikes Back. I got this super old vintage poster here as the. All right, what can we say? This is halfway point in the hero's journey. So he starts off the second one, Battle of Hoth. That's some fun stuff, and then he's told he needs to go train from this old master on some planet in the middle of nowhere. I kind of like how who was in the Thrawn trilogy, how they kind of fix this plot hole. Like how come he manages to land 100 feet from Yoda's hut, right? How does he
Yeah, yeah,
manage to land? But like they bring that up. He talks about how Yoda guided him in with the Force, in the
yeah,
Thrawn trilogy. And it talks about how the cave actually protected Yoda from being detected by the Emperor, because there's a dark cave shadowed his.
yeah,
Anyway, that's the book. But yeah, so he's going on this journey. I kind of like a part I absolutely love in this movie is when they're trying to constantly escape the Star Destroyers, just a
yes,
wild goose chase into the asteroid field. And they have
yes,
the unorthodox love story. It's not Luke Leia, it's Han Leia,
yeah,
They cut everyone off at the pass with that one. I
yeah.
basically like when things are unorthodox. So then
Mhm.
in terms of movies, not in terms of faith, obviously. Bam!
So you love James Martin?
I'm actually reading a book about this guy right now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, very disturbing fella. Anyway, more on that later. But and then of course the climax. He goes to fight Vader, and about
Mhm.
10 seconds into that fight, you know how it's going to end. He is
Yeah,
very unprepared. There's no way he should have gone to face Vader.
yeah,
Uh, and I kind of like, and this is not only unique to Star Wars. I kind of like when the bad guys win. Like the bad guys won in
yeah.
Empire Strikes Back, and that's
Oh yeah.
refreshing when that happens, because it's like, okay,
Mhm.
something. It's kind of like Avengers Infinity War. The bad guys win in that one. The Avengers lose. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, oh, the good guys lost. You need that every now and then. And
A
they
good
got
story.
shellacked, like
Yeah.
they lost. Like look what happened to Luke. He got completely owned. Uh, and now Han. is
It's
frozen and somewhere, uh, and L Leia, Lando, and Chewie and the droids barely escape, and, like,
mhm.
it's boom, they got owned in that one. The good guys got owned. I kinda like that, and he learned at the very end that his journey, he has all the angles now, so he has to slightly adjust, but the hero's journey has taken a very big twist and turn. It's and and tons of trilogies. I brought this up. Tons of trilogies have a good first movie, and then number 2 and 3 just bomb. I can name you tons
Yeah.
of examples, especially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But
Oh, yeah.
in
Oh, yeah.
this movie, apparently, apparently people were expecting like an amazing movie, and it just went even better than that. And no one knew about the I am your father. Like
Yeah.
that was
Han,
I guess
or sorry,
only 2 or 3 people knew that.
yeah, Mark Hamill had did an interview about that, and he was talking about how Lucas came up to him and said, like, gave him a paper that said, like, something to the effect of like Luke is the son of Vader or something like that. And he goes, there are 3 people in the whole world who know this: you, me, and like, I don't know who, executive producer or
And
whatever
James
kind of
Earl Jones,
thing.
because he actually said the line.
Well, I guess, yeah, it might have been, yeah, whoever. Um, and he goes, if so, if it gets leaked, we will know exactly who said it. And it was something, and even on the set, when um when they are doing it, they did similar to kind of what the Dark Knight Rises did with Batman's alleged death and stuff. Is they had Vader say something to the effect of like, "No, uh, Obi-Wan killed your father," right? And then Luke does the reaction kind of thing. That's
Yeah.
what they did. So even the people, the crew, thought it was like, "Oh, Obi-Wan killed his father. Oh no," kind of thing. But yeah, I have no complaints about this movie. There's not a single dry moment in this movie. Everything about it is perfect. I love the Hoth stuff. Um, like, even like, you can understand why it might be considered odd for things like the Wampa attacking him at the very beginning, but there's a reason for that because of the car accident he got in and he was injured and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh, so like, but like, I think they do that great. Like, it's, is it necessary? No, but like, it doesn't take away from the story at all. It's just like, okay, that's something that could happen. you know, it fits perfectly. Like, it's not a problem. Um, Dagobah is great. Like, it's quote slow, but it's supposed to be slow. That's the whole point of it. Say like the asteroid field is great. That's never slow at all. What I love is that like Luke is the impulsive, impatient young kid who's like, I can do this. I need to save my friends, and I need to fight Vader and all that. And he's like, you're not ready, and then he is clearly not ready. Now, if this was a different quote Sky Ray, um, it would have been like, Yoda, I'm ready. And he was like, oh,
Hello?
back, back,
You're choppy.
back,
You're still choppy. Try saying something now.
back.
Choppy again.
No, testing,
Choppy.
testing, testing,
Choppy.
testing, 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 testing. All right. Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Hey,
Testing,
hey, Father
testing.
James. You're still a bit choppy.
Oh,
You there?
testing. Hello?
Tr try turning off your camera just for a couple seconds.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it's a bit slurred though.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, but it's choppy. Oh man, we're at the end. Oh, this is annoying. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, vaguely.
Okay. Uh, all right, let's try this.
Oh, I can hear you now. It sounds good.
You can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah, perfect movie. Um, Unlike Ray Skywalker, he Ray Skywalker, he he actually like loses and grows and realizes he made a mistake and was impulsive. Um, and he has to be patient. That's one of the things he has to learn, and I love it. It's just it does so well. The twist at the end, no, I am your father. You know, it's all amazing. I love it all.
Yeah, like just that he gets shellacked by Darth Vader, and then just to pour some salt in the wound. By the way, I'm your father, just to
Yeah,
make the day even worse. The worst day of his life just got a lot worse.
yeah. Oh, I should probably put it on this one. I guess it's my turn now ish. Okay. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, Boba Fett is my probably my favorite character in all of Star Wars. He and Thrawn are my two favorite characters. Um, and he's like very prominent in this. I like the old voice. I mean, I think Tamira Morrison does a good job, but like Boba Fett is still the old voice to me. Like he's no good to me, dead. Like without the Australian accent, kind of thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but whatever. Like I mean, that's something they added, obviously. Um,
Thank you, Disney.
Well, no, it was added I think later, uh, after the prequel series, but before Disney, I think, where they added his Australian accent, or Tamura Morrison's or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, it's great. Bespin is beautiful. Cloud City, like, yeah, there are one, two, three, four different locales in this movie, and they're just all interesting. They all are.
Like Hoth, Dagobah,
Yeah, Hoth is, and like
and
I always figured like knowing myself, I wouldn't really care about a place like Hoth, but it's done so well, and like the AT-ATs, the way they fight them, like with the cables around and everything, that's always fun. Like in the games, that was always one of my
yeah,
favorite things to do.
it's fun to cable those guys in the games. Yeah.
Yeah, Rogue Leader is one of my favorite Star Wars games, which is a GameCube exclusive game, and they as they as faithfully as possible reproduce all of the major Star Wars battles from the original trilogy. So you do the Battle of Yavin, you do the Battle of Hoth, you do the Battle of Endor, you do those are the big ones. I'm trying to think of. You go into the asteroid field. You I think escape from Bespin, and things all that sort of stuff. So like they do it very faithfully, but like yeah, I like all of it is really good. The movie just is amazing. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's basically Luke. I kind of like that scene at the very end when it looks like they're about to get tractor beamed by the capital ship, and
Uh-huh.
Vader's on the ship, and then there's that one scene where he just looks horrified. He's like, "It's Vader," just brilliant. Oh,
Wait, which scene are you talking about? Wait,
the scene where it looks like they're about to be tractor beamed,
who?
and then when I think Luke comes into the cockpit and Lando, Leia, and
Oh yeah.
Vader are there, and then he's got this horrified look, and he's like, "It's Vader! Like Vader's on that ship. He's gonna have us in 30 seconds." Thank you, R2D2, for making that not happen. But oh man, man, just imagine, like, okay, they got to light speed, they escaped them. what was going through Luke's head now is like, boy, that was crummy, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Great series. The original trilogy just can't be beat. That's why, except for Rogue One, it's all on the top. It's the top four.
yeah, no, absolutely amazing trilogy. Again, I can't think of a better hero's journey than this one. I can't even think of one that comes even close. Uh,
Yeah. Trying to think. As far as movies are concerned,
or books, you can throw in books.
oh well, I mean, Lord of the Rings.
That's not as good, in my opinion. It's not.
Uh,
I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Like, I'm not a hater.
Interesting.
I'm not a huge fan. Like, of course, that's enough to get me my trad Catholic card
Oh yeah,
revoked.
totally. Yeah.
I just think
Although I
Tolkien's
expect the
overrated.
Diamond Brothers will consider that one good thing about you is that you don't like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They probably consider it anathema.
Yeah, I I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me.
I hear ya.
I prefer the Hobbit to Lord of the Rings, but even
The
the
Hobbit
Hobbit,
book is great. I love the book. It's amazing.
the book is it takes longer to watch the movies than to read the book.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The movies are 8 hours.
I don't care for the original, or not the original, but the trilogy of the Hobbit movies.
That was terrible. Apart from
Yeah.
the CG, it was pretty impressive CG, but
Oh no, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. My understanding
um,
is that he was forced to make it into a trilogy, and
yeah,
Peter Jackson.
that's why they're so slow. Like,
Yeah.
the 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 Battle of the Five Armies is about 6 pages in the book, and it's a 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, I wasn't too keen on it. I didn't like the guy who played Bard either. The guy who shot
Played who?
the uh
Oh,
Bard.
Bard. Yeah, so just to let you know, I've not seen all of the Hobbit trilogy.
No, you're not missing
I
much.
fell asleep watching the first one. Which the worst part about this is I was on a date. um, and then the second one I entirely skipped. To this day I've still not seen the second one of the Hobbit trilogy. And then I finally a few years ago watched the third one, and I was unimpressed. Yeah.
I like the one where he's having the fight with the white orc on the ice. That white orc was creepy.
I don't
Uh,
remember it. I probably fell asleep for that.
yeah.
Oh well. But yeah, I'm trying to think of another movie that does the hero's journey thing. Um I
Well,
mean,
I
I'm sure
guess
there are
Lord of the
plenty.
Rings would be a close competitor.
Well, like
Well, the
the
close,
hero's journey is always an odd thing because it's so malleable. Like it's kind of almost not a thing, but like people understand what's being said with it generally. So, but yeah, like the Hobbit, or not the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings kind of has a parallel of that with two. It's got like Aragorn, who is the hero, the sort of idealized hero, and it's got the hobbits, Frodo and Sam, who are sort of trying to ape that hero, that heroicness, you know,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
yeah. So I
Oh,
guess now we should probably take some questions.
yeah, sure thing.
If there's any.
Yeah, if there are any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll see. Or if you want to do super chats, yeah. Um, but let's see. Koyo says
Oh,
my
these
list would be
acronyms
The
are.
Last Jedi. Yeah, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, The Force Awakens, I guess. Clone Wars, Solo, Rogue One. Oh, okay. Attack of the Clones, Empire Strikes Back. Wow, A New Hope is better than Empire Strikes Back. Interesting. The Phantom Menace is better than all that. Okay. Revenge of the Sith, or Return of the Jedi, and then Revenge of the Sith. That is
I don't
an
like that list.
interesting list.
Yeah.
We all agree that The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker are way towards the bottom. So
The Phantom Menace is ahead of Empire Strikes Back.
I know that's just odd.
That
I
is
think
blasphemy.
hopefully this doesn't come across as whatever, Koyo, but I think it's you might be a bit younger in your 20s or so, so that might be why you might have grown up on the prequels, which makes
or
sense. Like, I mean,
even worse,
I was
the canon.
a preteen when the first one came out. I was well, maybe I don't know, it was like 12 or 11 or something like that when it first came out. So I get it. I think I was 11 actually. Yeah.
All right, questions. Let's have some questions. So things
Any?
while we're waiting for the questions to come, we
Uh-huh.
have to. We should do a top 5 games. Um,
He's 19, Koyo.
19.
That makes
Poor
sense.
soul.
Yeah.
He probably grew up with the Disney movies. Ugh,
Yeah. Oh wow.
poor soul. There are 5 books I need to read, and I'm going to read them all in succession. Let me. There's 5 books I have in my pile. I've got this one, Revan.
Okay.
I've got the Jedi Academy trilogy,
There you go.
and one more that just came in the mail.
Kenobi. Yeah.
This one might be hard for you to find one without Legends because it was published in January of 2014, and then in April of 2014 is when they deemed all books up to
Yeah.
now to be Legends.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look for it. I don't think I have Kenobi. I might actually have Kenobi. I've got to look again. But it's all my Star Wars books are still in a box in my closet. Not all of them, but most of them. But yeah, no, it's those are difficult. But I did I tell you? I'm pretty sure I told you my Heir to the Empire story, right?
Oh,
I had
about the one where you purchased the 20th anniversary edition, and then
yeah
it had just crossed over, and it didn't say it on the cover, but it said in like the front page, it's like Star Wars Legend. You're
the
like,
Legends
what?
timeline. It said, yeah,
How
yeah.
dare you?
So I literally purchased another copy. Made sure
And
beforehand that it didn't have the Legends thing, and then gave that Legends copy to a friend of mine.
wow,
Yeah.
you must really hate the Legend. Well, it's going to be hard to find Kenobi without Legends.
Well, I'm gonna say so many of the books I've just heard a lot of bad from them. I've not read more than one, I think, of the Disney canon books, but like they've got so many stupid things that I've heard from it. Just like it's hard for me to let go also of like the old canon. Um, the old canon is just amazing. That's what I grew up on. That was before I was reading Star Wars books before I saw the original trilogy.
Yeah, you told me
Like,
that you saw you had a VHS of the making of Star Wars
yeah,
or something.
yeah. And that was all I knew. And then I was reading the Young Jedi Knight series or whatever it was. Uh, like the Glove of Vader, which was a stupid book. Like they're stupid looking back at them. Those the Jedi Prince or whatever it's called. Um, but I ended up falling in love with it because of those books, and then I read the better ones, which are like the Young Jedi Knights, and then the Grand Admiral Thrawn trilogy and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Well, my
Let's see.
friend
I
HD,
watched the. Oh, good.
my friend HD, for Christmas, he gave me the first 2 Thrawn books of the new canon, and there's a third one, and there's a second Thrawn trilogy in the new canon. So
Yeah.
eventually, I'll read these, but I
Yeah.
told HD I can't make any promises as to when.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Let's see. Koyo says I watched the OT first because of my stepdad, the original trilogy. Okay. And then he asks, have either of you watched Clone Wars 2008 or Rebels?
no.
I have not watched Clone Wars all the way through. I've not seen the latest season, which came out a year or two ago or whatever. Um, Rebels, I've not finished it either, but I love Rebels. What I've seen of it, Clone Wars, I liked. It's good. It's not a. It gets better. Obviously, it gets much better the more you get into it. The first season's not the most amazing. Uh, one that I do need to watch, which I haven't watched all the way yet, is the 2003 Clone Wars. I've not seen that one yet, and I
Oh,
haven't
is that
caught up.
the one?
Good.
Is that the one that looks like Samurai Jack? That one.
Yeah, I think it's the same artists and stuff. Yeah, it's I watched some of the episodes, and they're so short. They're like 3 minutes long.
Yeah, 3 minutes
Um,
long, and
and just
yeah.
like as a teenager, I was like, "What is this?" you know.
Yeah, like I remember watching those, and yeah, they're kind of cute. They explain the Star Wars story, like the Clone
Yeah.
Wars,
I just
like
felt like I was watching a commercial the entire time.
seemed that way almost with how
Yeah.
quick they are.
But yeah, the next thing we should do is the top 5 Star Wars video games. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. And then we need
I'm
to do
wearing my
another
Star
one.
Wars shirt. One of my Star Wars shirts, by the way.
Are you?
Darth Vader. Yeah, I had to wear it. Yeah. You're not wearing one? What is that?
I got my Houston Trastros.
Is that a sports team?
Well, it's the Houston Astros, but remember the scandal they got caught in a few years
No.
ago?
I don't watch
They
sports.
Okay, and they had a camera out in center field
Uh-huh.
that would catch the catcher signals, and then a guy at the camera, like they'd have the feed in the dugout, and if there was an off speed pitch like a breaking ball or a curve or something like that, they'd hit a trash can in the dugout. So they essentially cheated the whole year, and no one noticed until like a year or two later. A YouTuber blew this open.
Wow.
A baseball YouTuber named John Boy. He blew this whole thing wide open, and then
Wow.
since all the old games are on the MLB
Recorded.
YouTube, they went to all the home games of the Astros, and they found every time they'd hit the trash can. So that's why it's called Houston Trastros.
That is, I've got to look into this. I don't care
You
at all
better
about baseball.
I'll send you the video that blew it open.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's literally a YouTuber blew this open. That's hilarious.
Doing God's work right there.
Yeah, baseball YouTuber.
Wow.
Too good.
Yeah, no. We can do a top 5 Star Wars someday. It's Star Wars. Yeah, my first Star Wars game was actually Super Star Wars on the Super Nintendo.
Not Rebel Assault.
No, not Rebel Assault. That's a PC game, I think, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really have PC growing up. We were always behind on PC and stuff like that. We like growing up, I did not have anything more than dial up, and we only got dial up in like the mid 2000s. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that probably protected your innocence to a large degree.
Oh no! When I was a teenager, I had problems with indecent pictures, and I even on dial up, I still did it.
Oh boy.
So yeah. But I repented. So the Twin Sons episode of Rebels is great. Honestly, Rebels is better than CW in my CW. Wow, Clone Wars in my opinion. All right, I'd have to say LSW. What's LSW?
Lego Star Wars, maybe.
Oh, Lego Star Wars. The which one is that? I don't know. The something series. I don't know. I never did any of the Lego stuff. I've never been a huge Lego person.
Fallen Order is good.
I don't have Fallen Order, but I've seen a lot of good in it. Battlefront 2 I own, but I've not really gotten into either of the Battlefront 2s. I own both of them. Republic Commando.
They just come out with a sequel to Fallen Order like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Jedi Survivor or something like that. I need to get a better PC. That's what I need to do. My PC is like 6 or 7 years old or something like that right now. So
yeah, that'll struggle with games.
Yeah.
Are you playing
I'm
Hogwarts
also saving up money.
Legacy? Are you playing
I'm sorry?
Hogwarts Legacy? Are you playing Hogwarts
I would
Legacy?
if I had a better computer. So
Xbox Series X right here.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone wants to donate to get me a better computer, so we don't have all the hiccups that we just had tonight,
super chat.
I'd be most appreciative. Super chat, yeah, definitely. No, yeah, but in general, I'm gonna have to get a new computer eventually. But yeah, my Star Wars games were through the Nintendo series though, systems though. So like Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, GameCube, and then so most of my favorite Star Wars games are in those series or in those systems.
Um,
Um,
Rogue Squadron, I only played the first one through, and I bought the second one like years later, and I played a couple levels. But Rogue Squadron. So you think the Battle of Hoth in um Rogue Squadron 2 is better than the one in Rogue Squadron 1? And in one, it's a bonus level.
yeah, without a doubt. Because it's so faithful to, like, what I love about the Rogue Leader games or game is that it is so faithful to the movies. It tries to emulate them as accurately as possible. It doesn't do that in the first one, which the first Rogue Squadron is great. I love it. Don't get me wrong. The Jade Moon, for instance, is one of my favorite levels. The one where you're trying to save Crix Nadine is another good one.
Oh, that's a
The one
fun
where they
one.
do sort of and like the Battle of Hoth one in the first one is good. It's not bad. I don't hate it. It's just that it's not accurate, like accurate to the movies. And I feel like I'm in the movies when I'm playing Rogue Leader. And I always play every Star Wars pilot game or any pilot game like Star Fox or anything like that. I always play in the cockpit if I can, and it's so amazing being in the cockpit for like being in an X-wing or being in a B-wing or Y-wing or A-wing or whatever. It's awesome.
Interesting. Yeah, I got to find a way. You know what my next 5 Star Wars books are going to be, right? I just showed them, but eventually I got to
Yeah.
read the X-wing books because eventually I'll have to
Yes.
get to there's those um three big series of uh because there was two phases in the Legends timeline. Because until like '99, it was owned by Bantam Books. Then it was
Mhm.
owned by Del Rey, and they wanted to do less standalone books, more big series. So that's where you get
Yeah.
New Jedi Order, Fate of the Jedi, and well, what's the third one again?
There's Legacy of the Force. There is the Dark Nest trilogy. Fate of the Jedi comes later after that. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, yeah. So it's larger series, whereas during the Bantam era, it was mainly standalone and trilogies, except X-wing. X-wing was the exception.
Yeah.
Um,
I gotta address this. The Star Wars canon is such a mess. I just pick and choose what I like. The old canon is not a mess. I mean, it kind of is, but not. Like it
it's got
works.
flaws,
Especially
but yeah.
they try to keep it as consistent as possible. They were people who were actually hired to make sure it stayed consistent. you know, like it had it they tried to maintain consistency with it, and they would work together, the authors, especially when you get to like New Jedi Order, which is done something like one or two dozen books, between 12 and 24 books, around there. They have multiple authors doing those, and they try to work them out to work a cohesive story out together with it. So yeah.
Well,
Oh yeah, the
well,
canon now is
apparently,
a mess. Yeah.
like each time they do a long series, like even they 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 still only have probably like about 8 or 9 authors, but they're all in contact with each other. And like each time
Mhm.
they needed something, they'd send an email. Hey, you think I could use this character that you created for something?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, no, I plan on using him for that. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
fine. Uh, yeah.
Uh,
So
did you ever
they
play Star Wars Galaxies?
no.
No. It was an
Uh,
MMO.
oh, certainly I didn't then.
It
Um,
was the first MMO I ever played in my life, and I played it the night it came out. I didn't purchase it because you couldn't play it on dial-up. I don't think we even had dial-up yet, but I played it at my friend's house. So the night he got it, he played it first, obviously, and then I played it a little bit after. And there was a character um who was a Zabrak. His name was XXYYZZ, I think, if I recall correctly. If you know that person, anyone out there, please, I want to say hi after 20 years. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Do you ever play a game called Star Wars Force Commander?
That sounds familiar. I don't think I
It,
don't. It
yeah,
sounds
I
familiar,
didn't
but yeah,
play
go
it.
ahead.
It looked pretty good, but I didn't play it, and it's not like it's a game that people keep talking about constantly. So I guess it didn't do great. But it's a game I remember when it came out, but like at that time my computer was not good enough to play it. And
Oh, it looks interesting. It's a strategy
yeah,
game, huh?
yeah, it's an RTS, yeah. Uh, yeah.
One of the other
I'd
ones I
have to
like.
say that
Good,
w-
good.
w- well, I was going to ask you what your favorite game of all time was, Star Wars game of all time, but I wonder if we should save that.
We'll save that. It might be a bit surprising. Like, it's not the typical favorite Star Wars game, so I'll just say it's not KOTOR. Although I love KOTOR, so it'll be up there. I don't know if it'll be
Coach
top
was
five, but it'll
mine.
be very close. Yeah.
In
But
the game,
it's
Road Leader.
yeah, Rogue Leader.
Because
Yeah.
each time you talk about that game, you just rave. It's like you get to fight 2 Star Destroyers. How awesome is that? You know.
Oh yeah, no. Battle of Endor alone is just enough of a reason. You're going towards the Death Star, and then like it does the scene where it blows up the one of the Mon Cal ships, and so you turn around to get away from the Death Star, and then you go into the fleet, and you're like, oh well, hopefully they won't get us. You know, it's doing all the classic lines and everything, and then right in front of you, not in like a background, but like right in front of you, 2 Star Destroyers, and you have to take both of them down. It's amazing. Ah, so yeah.
Do you ever play X-Men versus TIE Fighter?
I did, but I was very young when that came, when I
Yeah, that's
played it. I was about 8, 9, something like that. And it was again on PC, on a friend's PC. So I was just like, I didn't even know what I was doing. So, but yeah,
yeah, that
but
was
yeah,
a
yeah,
classic game.
it is a classic one. I do have to try it again. I tried getting one of the issues is I tried getting some of the old Star Wars games on Steam. So like Shadows of the Empire for the N64, and it is just unplayable. So many of those old games that get ported into Steam are unplayable. It's so frustrating. But yeah,
Really. Well,
yeah.
I guess you got to get on N64. I know a guy who actually has it on N64. I could probably purchase it off him for $20.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I should probably do that myself. I still have my old N64. I don't know if it is workable. I gotta check, but I could probably. I have a few 64 games left. I might have. I don't think I have Shadows of the Empire though. But yeah. Anyway,
Shadows was a fun game. Not my
oh, it's fun. I
favorite,
love
but
it.
uh,
It's
I,
definitely
I
top 10. I'll say.
I kind of like how in Star Wars, like he's kind of like a Han Solo character, but he's like nowhere in the movies. He's always in on the
Right
action,
outside.
but
Yeah.
yeah, he's been
Dash Rendar is one of my
let.
favorite characters. Yeah, but I also,
That's
um, so many people love the Millennium Falcon. For me, the Outrider is so much better. Like whenever I do a Star Wars game, a tabletop RPG campaign, the default ship is almost always going to be the YT 2400. It's such a beautiful
not
ship.
Ebon
I love
Hawk,
it.
not the Ebon Hawk.
No, I've never been a huge Ebon Hawk guy. Yeah.
You
Um,
can tell that Ebon Hawk is like a smuggler's ship,
yeah, but have you seen the Outrider? I mean, you've seen, yeah, you know the Outrider, the YT
Oh, yeah,
2400.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's the one in Shadows, right?
yeah. It's just a much cooler looking ship. I love it. Let's see if I
In
can get a
Shadows,
picture of it right.
I in Shadows, I love that episode or that one where those guys are trying to assassinate Luke, and you got the speeder, and you're trying to catch them, and
I'm trying to show the. There it is. Let's see if we can enlarge in that.
the
That's all
guns
that
are on
stuff in the
top.
way. Yeah, See if I can find a better picture. This might be the picture that like made me fall in love with it first. No, no, not that one. But that is the ship. But yeah, I love it. The YT-2400, the Outrider dash renderer ship.
What about the Sun Crusher? How about that?
It's a little bit wonky. It's, I mean, like objectively, sure, like an impenetrable ship. Like, yeah, I'll take that one. But like, it's kind of a silly, like other super weapon that ends up getting destroyed. So
Yeah, yeah, that's one of those weird,
they had so many of those in the sequel or the post Return of the Jedi. Um,
like the Galaxy gun, right?
yeah, the Galaxy Gun, the Eclipse, the World Devastators.
Those made it into Rogue Squadron.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, in the last mission,
Oh yeah.
World Devastators.
I hated the V Wing because like the V Wing was basically just an airspeeder. It wasn't even a real ship. So I didn't hate that level, but I was just like, I don't like the V Wing. It's just an
But
airspeeder.
V-Wing, it was pretty good. You had those fast lasers, and then you got the
Well, that was
cluster missile. As soon as you get the Seeker upgrade on that, that is so good because you'll like there'll be like 5 ships bombing
oh
the
yeah.
city, cluster missile.
That was one of the things I don't like about Rogue Leader is how much they nerfed the Slave One. And that they didn't have the TIE Interceptor in it. Like they had the TIE Fighter. I was like, I want the TIE Interceptor. The TIE Interceptor was my favorite from the first Rogue Squadron. That was the ship I almost always used. Um, but the Slave One is
No
a favorite ship
shield.
of. But the Slave One is one of my favorite ships, and the lasers are so weak in that the only thing good about it are the cluster missiles. And like once you run out of the cluster missiles, and you're going around shooting with like the little tiny lasers that don't even hit. It's so frustrating.
See, for me, I have to say, in those games, I got to go with the classic. My favorite ship's the X-wing. I'm old
The
school.
X-wing is great, but it's objectively like the best ship because it's versatile and it actually heals. My favorite ship, Starfighter, is the B-wing, but the Y-wing and the X-wing are the only ones that heal because they're the only ones with an astromech droid. So that's very frustrating. So like you always have to use like the X-wing basically.
The
But yeah,
X-wing, yeah. Oh man, those games are so good.
I'm probably gonna play
Like,
a Star Wars game tonight. I might. Anyway, thanks for being on. Like, really enjoyed it.
yeah, yeah. No, no, this is good. We'll have to do this again. We got to do games and at least one more for books because we both need to read this one, Kenobi.
I do need
This
to read it.
I
How
I
about we
I
do like favorite characters, like a
yeah,
ranking of favorite characters?
well,
That
see,
might
the
be
thing
good.
is, I don't know if you've read Kenobi, right? Have you read Kenobi?
I've not. I no, I didn't read Kenobi. No.
Okay, so maybe like since we're both into like literature and stuff, we'll find a time read it together, then do like a joint review or something on one
Mm-hmm.
that we haven't. And I've heard really good things about this book, really good
Mm-hmm.
things.
I've been told it's really good
Like
too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that that guy I brought up. I don't know if you've seen any of his videos. Jonathan Cohn. That's his favorite L- Legends book. And he's read like 40 or 50 of them. You know,
Oh wow.
so yeah,
Yeah, I've watched a few of his shows or his videos, and he's pretty good. I like him.
yeah. He seems like, or perhaps we could do a show with Cohn on. Invite him to on our channels.
That'd be
Like
on.
normally we
Well,
do.
I am actually. I'm getting my. I have another channel, um, called Father Games. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
Yeah,
Father.
I'm looking at getting eventually getting like my video game and book and board game and all this sort of stuff on that. So I'm gonna eventually do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that
So
up.
I'll once I get things set up with that, I'll invite you onto that. I've got 2 videos on it so far. Anyone, if you want to see that, just go look up Father Games or I think I shared something with it this morning. So go ahead and do that. Anyway, yeah, I gotta get going.
All
Oh,
right, and subscribe to my channel, everyone.
oh yeah. Check out Allan Ruhl. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Um, check out my other channel as well, which is Father Games. I shared something about it this morning, I think. So yeah, check it out. All right, thanks for being on. God bless.